Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the REMINGTOM podcast. How are we doing on this Sunday afternoon, people? We know how the people in Dallas are doing. Make no mistake, it's been a rough couple of hours, and it's getting worse, people. Their team is falling apart. I mean, they're on pace to give up 200 points tonight. The Cavs scored 50 points in the first quarter in this first game without Luka Doncic. Yes, that's right. The Mavs traded Luka Doncic, people. We'll get into it. There's a lot that is happening right now. I mean, the whole NBA world is going on. The Pro Bowl is going on. Nobody cares. Beyonce announced a tour. I mean, it's just been lost in the shuffle at this point. The Grammys are later tonight. None of it matters. I mean, the LA Lakers have made a move. I mean, the Pro Bowl at this point, that might just go by the wayside, though, regardless. I mean, the Pro Bowl is like, I honestly don't even know what they're doing at this point. I scrolled past it, turning on Sling TV, and it showed like the preview video, and it was just like Kyle Juszczyk was just like punting the football into like this big bucket, and it was like, okay, I don't really know what's happening here. The Pro Bowl's literally just like a pop-up carnival that you see in a mall at some point. You're just like driving by a mall at some point in Vegas, and you're like, oh, wait a second, the Pro Bowl's going on over there? Is that the Pro Bowl? Is that Juszczyk? Is that Darnold under center? Drake May, is he in the game? There's always some names that you're like, wait a second, I didn't realize we were getting down to this part of the list. And obviously, shout out to Drake May. And shout out to Justin Jefferson as well, too. I feel like he's always messing around in these games. I mean, the fact that you can't get just like absolutely clobbered and lit up at, running across the middle of the field, maybe it makes it a little more likely. And, he's always willing to show off a chain or two, I'm sure. I'm sure he's having a good time. Peyton versus Eli. This is about to be the first time that Eli Manning actually gets a win in the NFL over Peyton Manning. Or maybe not the first time. I don't think they're undefeated. I don't think Peyton was undefeated versus Eli. But he did have a significant winning record. JSN out there as well, too. The one Seahawk Pro Bowler. I mean, this really is just like... The Pro Bowl isn't... Again, it's a mall carnival. It's like a group chat pickup game at this point. It's just they just send out the invite into the NFL group chat, and just whoever responds. Seahawks, is anybody from the Seahawks pulling up? Oh, JSN's going to pull up to the Pro Bowl? Okay, we'll take him. He's in. That's why, again, Jeddah's great. It's like, hey, if we text the Vikings, like, Jeddah might actually show up. Jeddah might actually be in this game. I don't know if we have to take his friend Sam Darnold. We have to get Justin Jefferson, maybe this year, but we'll take Jefferson. He's worth the trouble. Kyle Hamilton's out there. Surtan's out there. I mean, if you're playing in a backwards hat, it sounds kind of fun in theory. There's a version of that sounds fun. Because, I mean, make no mistake, we've all had a good time playing a football game. I guess flag football is obviously more fun playing than it is watching. If we're going to watch it, sit down on a Sunday afternoon and turn on the Pro Bowl, it's going to need to be actual, like, entertaining football. But I guess it distracted us enough from... it's the most entertaining game right now. This game's actually, well, it's not close anymore because NFC just scored. So we're really just... Luka Doncic is just taking over the sports world at this point. I mean, 63-30. This is crazy. This is just one of the best offensive onslaughts that I've seen, because you do get the hot quarter a lot of times, and I guess you'll get like a hot half. They'll probably come out second half chill with some of the guys. But the Cavs are an interesting team too, because you got Ty Jerome on the bench. Make no mistake, Ty Jerome, third, fourth quarter, it's not going to stop. And Sam Morril can't miss right now. Sam Morril, they said he's 4 for 4. This is insane. 66-33. They have 66. There's 7 minutes left in the second quarter. Klay Thompson tries to respond. He can't do it. I mean, any positive thoughts that we might have on the Mavs making this trade? I guess teaser people. We're not saying who we think won the trade, but any positive thoughts that we might have are going to be hard to defend right now, because again, they're down currently by 33 points with 6:50 left in the second quarter. I mean, Sam Morril's unconscious. What are the numbers right now? What are we looking at here from a Morril? Garland's 3 for 3. We know Garland, obviously, all-star this year, but His three-point shooting's been a little up and down. Oh, we box score. Let's see, chat. Cleveland is 13 of 16 in the first half, 81%. Dallas, on the other hand, 23% from three, 37% from the field. So they need to get a start quick. I don't know if they need to make a trade or... Oh, wait, they do have a guy coming in on a trade, chat. I had an all-time, like, who is this guy moment with this guy, Kyler Kelly right here, this number 50. For those that are watching on the YouTube and maybe on the Spotify. I guess 2 for 2. Start the game, 11 minutes. Minus, well, everybody's minus on the Mavs right now. But when he checked into the game, I guess he was in the starting lineup. But when I flipped on the game and saw him, I was like, I have absolutely no idea where this guy just ascended from. I thought this was maybe like some Eastern European draft and stash guy. Was this like some Estonian, you know, like just random guy that they drafted back in 2021 and he's just been sitting in some pro league for like 3 years and they finally just like, well, we have a spot available now that we've traded Doncic. Like, let's bring him over. We've got to fill the Max Christie foreign front court spot with somebody. So I don't think he actually is though. He's from Oregon State. I had to look him up to find out who this guy was. So shout out to Kyler Kelly. Does look a little... There is some Kyle Korver vibes with his face as well, too, though he is a center, and I don't think he's shown any, like, three-point shooting, but he's running around giving him energy tonight. You know, he moves pretty well, if anything, so I don't know. Okay, there we go. The tip back in. That's got to be their first bucket in a minute. And the Cleveland broadcast has been doing this thing now where they're showing the score differential above the winning team. So obviously Cleveland's in front right now. It just shows, it says the difference plus is 36. So I do get it from a gambling standpoint. Oh, cut it to 34. And in some ways that is nice. Just, you know, quick math. What's the difference in the game? But also there are times when it's like, you know, I feel like I can do the math pretty quickly. And I don't think they have it up there when it's like single digits. But even still, it's honestly, it just needs to be like 16, 17, 8. It just any of those numbers. 16, 17, 18, or 27, 28, 29. Maybe, you know, 21, 22, 23. It just needs to pop up at certain times. Like if the difference is at 25, like, you know, I can do the math on fives. And, you know, I feel like we're all pretty fairly, you know, skilled with the quick fives and zero multiplication tables. I feel like if any of them stuck, like those would be the ones. So maybe some of you guys like really you know, got the twos down as well too. And I guess if you watch a lot of NBA, you know, the 3-pointers up to a certain extent, you know, 10, 12, 13, 14, you know, 15 3-pointers to some point. I mean, you know, 15 times 3, 45. You just do a little reverse math there. I mean, not to flex on our, you know, our math skills on y'all, chat. Just to, you know, bust out the old multiplication tables again real quick. But, regardless, the Mavs looking a lot different right now on this Sunday compared to what we had initially thought. And make no mistake, like we said, you know, the Grammys were going on. We were all excited to get in here and talk about albums. Kendrick's about to clean up with some of the songs. We're, you know, going to get a pretty interesting result for Album of the Year. It looks like we do finally have a favorite, which I can't believe now. I guess shout out to what is it, Polymarket, that we didn't find, or we found that there was like some odds for finally best rap album on there. I can't believe that it took us until the day of to actually find the odds. Like maybe we just need to switch our browser, chat, but it was just not giving us like good current, you know, I guess just books and stuff and our posts or whatever. There just wasn't good coverage of like the ongoing odds of best album. And I guess we could have stepped up, chat, done a better job ourselves. Like I said, I guess we're struggling. Maybe we should have gone in and used some of the AI stuff to try to figure this out. I don't know. We could have just asked DeepSeek who's going to win. I'm sure they would have had the answer. But yeah, we've got to put it all on pause because Luka Doncic gets traded at 25 years old. At 25 years old. Is this his 5th or his 6th season, chat? maybe his 7th. He did enter the league as, of course, a young player. So to say that he has played that long is, again, he's 25 at the end of the day. So, and it is miles as well too, versus age sometimes. Oh, Basketball Reference. What's going on? Gateway timeout. This trade has broken the internet. The Basketball Reference sites, the trade machines, none of it can handle what's going on. What's pause? Basketball Reference. Who knew Basketball Reference was just randomly broke? The link. Maybe we typed it in wrong, chat. Let's see. Wow, chat. Basketball Reference is literally down right now. I know there's like 17 people that currently care about that on this Sunday afternoon. But regardless, that is a bummer. That's really going to put a damper on things, chat. I'm not going to lie. That's really tough. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, we still know what happened. It's just fun to look at the numbers and fun to, fact check. This is our database. Try it one more time. What's wrong, chat? Are we going to go... Do we need to do a quick... Let's do a quick Twitter search real fast. And just see if they've posted anything. Is there an explanation somewhere? Can somebody help us out? 5 hours ago, they tweeted the MVP odds. Jokic, Shea, Giannis, Towns at 4, or MVP, I guess, yeah, odds. And then Tatum at 5. In terms of, I guess, whatever their projection thing is. But no IT updates on why the site is down? Oh, wait. Something's wrong with our thing, chat. Well, anyways, it's working here, so we're chilling. We're chilling. Okay. Unfortunately, I forget now what exactly we were going to go look up. But it doesn't matter. We know that Doncic is on the move, chat. He's on the go. Oh, yeah, we were just going to see what season he's in. Officially. 7 years of experience for Luka Doncic. So, I guess in some ways, that is, a bit of a run with a team. Like, it's not like he hasn't known what the Mavs are going to do, and it's not like they haven't had a chance to put some pieces around him. But again, at the end of the day, as a 25-year-old young superstar who, just from where we line up other stars in NBA history, we would assume that his peak years, he's about to enter them, and, these next 4 to 6 to 7, yeah, I guess maybe even 4 to 8 years could really be like the absolute best basketball that Luka Doncic is going to give you. But regardless, they do make the trade, and they are getting killed for it. Again, they're giving up kind of a guy that was a generational talent. Like, and some of that stuff matters in this trade as well too. But regardless, like, I would still, hot take, like everybody's going to say and kind of lean the Lakers won this trade, because it's like, at the end of the day, like we're saying, Luka Doncic at this point in the timeline versus Davis at this point in the timeline, the would you rather is just a really, really tough conversation because of that age factor. But outside of that, chat, like, we gotta pump the brakes a little bit on this move, and we gotta put a little bit. We gotta do the Rodney Dangerfield right now. Anthony Davis is Rodney Dangerfield. Nobody is giving Anthony Davis respect. And again, this trade is like Luka focused. Luka is the headline of the deal. He's going to the Lakers. He's the young star. He's the potential. He's one of the guys in the mix to be the upcoming face of the league at some, if his talent continues to progress, depending on how his career unfolds. Like, he has that talent and he has that ability to be the best basketball player in the league and to potentially be the guy that, is the dominant force, chat. Like, make no mistake, we've said these things about him at some point in his career. So, like, again, it's hard to pause to look at a guy that you go once you labeled him generational at one point, and he still has shown the talent to be generational. Like, why would you give up on this guy right before he's about to enter the peak of his powers. But Davis is one of the 12, easily 12 best players. And I know you're going to, say Doncic is like the second best player in the league or whatever. But I think where Doncic is at in the player rankings is, maybe it just can correlate a little bit differently at times to the tier of guys where it's like, again, if we have to rank these guys based on, their individual skill set and how they're able to produce and the numbers that they have and how their team, like if you are stacking all these factors up together and making a list, like you're going to rank them in a certain way. But again, like if we're at the pickup court, whatever and I get that's even a different scenario, but just like if we're in the NBA version of that and we're trying to assemble a title team, we have all the guys lined up, we need to start drafting guys, like, the case opens up a little bit differently at that point. And again, Doncic is a generational talent, but if you are looking at guys like right now, going forward, if you're saying I need to win a title this season, and if you're even like factoring in, of course, the next couple of seasons in it, as you absolutely should, the longevity of, that's all part of the value of, and you don't want to say asset as well too, and just, these guys as commodities. Like one of the things about the player empower movement was viewing, getting away from that, but just the value of trading for a player and for a contract and the money that you're going to give him, like obviously longevity is a part of that. But if we're just trying to assemble title teams, like right now, you're still taking Jokic over him. You're still, to me personally, again, I know it seems like a hot take for some people right now, but I'm still taking Giannis over Doncic. Just hit the physical, overpowering ability and the two-way ability as well to the defensive ability. Like the way he's able to overpower guys offensively puts him in a similar realm. They're both 30-point-a-game scorers. Like you can literally just look at the numbers, and Giannis gives you the two-way thing. And to be honest, like the defensive thing, I think is a factor in this, because there was a report as well, amongst all the reports in this, that they had their eyes on Anthony Davis as kind of the one guy that they were really, really targeting. If, their wish list, I guess, of people that they could trade for, if they could trade away Luka, like Anthony Davis was the number one guy on that list. And you look at the type of player that Davis is compared to Luka, like it's an interesting dynamic. But again, like to me, I'm still taking Jokic and Giannis. And at this, like with the way SGA has just continued to evolve as a player, again, I think I would take SGA at this point. I was saying that last year. I was leaning SGA. It was a close conversation. And, we've had conversations about Tatum versus Luka as well too. And because of the defense with Luka, or because of the defense with Tatum, and Tatum has had a, continued to develop as a playmaker as well too in his career. Like, Jokic and Giannis are obviously a little bit more established in their careers. So it's like totally fair to say that, yeah, of course, those guys, over Giannis. Okay, whatever. Shea and Tatum a little more in Luka's age range, but even it's not like I'm just sitting here definitively like, yeah, Tatum over Luka, but it's like, yeah, I'm definitely like maybe leaning Tatum, and it's a close case either way. Like to me, it's not definitive on whether or not you could, would you rather build a title team versus Tatum or like we've literally seen Tatum now win a title, and I get Luka was literally in the finals last year, which is another reason that this is tough, chat. But again, I think that's a close, like it's not a wash with these conversations anyways. These are guys that are all in the mix, and we've seen that next young tier as well too, like continue to step up and progress forward. Because like we've talked about in the past, like we were saying with Doncic right now at this point of his career getting traded, like that Doncic, SGA, Tatum tier of guys, like those guys are entering now the peak of their powers. Jokic and Giannis are kind of, those are in their 30s, kind of in that, still at their peak, but it's like, okay, we started to be a little more appreciative of the years that they're starting to give us anyways. And now the next tier of guys, you can really start to see that to form, but you can start to see them form as well too as immediate competitors. So guys like Wemby, guys like Edwards, and to be honest, he's hurt right now too as well as Luka. So I don't know if you can necessarily say that health is a case for this guy over Luka. But with what we saw from Paolo this year, like Paolo to me is now in the mix as like it's a conversation of who would you rather have. And again, like Luka's pedigree at this, he's had more years. Luka's literally been in the finals. Like I don't, can't can't just literally write that off, chat. But again, to me, that is, that's 7 guys now that are in the mix, again, with a couple of them, Jokic or whatever, Wemby with the long-term factor, Jokic with the immediate factor, with like a couple of guys being definitive, maybe knows over Doncic. Like, to me, there's an argument of like 7 or 8 guys of would you rather, that's the mix of guys for the A+ tier guys that you can build a title around. And Davis is literally like the next guy right outside that tier. Like, again, I was saying like Davis would be like a top 12 guy, at worst in the league. And if we were just being pessimistic on this version of the sort of, who do you want to build a team around rankings, like you could put Doncic 8th on this ranking. And, obviously that's an insane version of a rank. You look at a list and go, why would you have Doncic at 8th? I'm just saying, like, there's cases to be made with each of these guys. And all of a sudden the version of him and Davis is now a lot closer. So to me, this is just, not a definitive, they're just giving up, a second, third best player in the league for a guy that is just a guy that's clearly a step down. Like, obviously, again, with the long-term stuff and the age things, like I get there's things to, there's things to look at for sure, and there's cases to be made both ways. But just if you were comparing this trades to other trades that have been made, just a trade that was made this offseason, like in the moment, I feel better about I feel this trade is more equal than like the Towns Randall trade for Minnesota, New York. And, maybe, I don't know, do we check the tapes and prove me wrong, chat? But I'm just, you would think that, like, you're like, man, Randall and Edwards, it's just like, and with respect to Randall as a player as well, too, like, it just feels like that is kind of a weird fit for both those guys, especially with Gobert being kind of the third guy in the mix. And, McDaniels, we saw him be a 40% shooter in the playoffs, but is he more a little bit of a step down than that? And maybe he can elevate at certain times. Like, I don't know. This is, like I just laid out, I think that this is a more even trade than that trade. And we've seen even now Towns be unlocked. And, like, we were just saying, Basketball Reference had him 4th in MVP odds now. Like, that trade even looks worse retrospectively. The Kawhi DeMar DeRozan trade. Like, this trade to me is very similar to that type of trade. And I feel better about this trade for the Mavs than I do. And, man, it's easier not being a Mavs fan. But as I do, for DeMar versus Kawhi, because again, the difference is with Davis, there is still, I think, a case that you can definitely build a title team around this guy, and he's been a part of a finals winning team. Like, you could say, yeah, Doncic has been the best player on a finals team, but Davis was arguably the finals MVP on that team as well. And the bubble, they were able to get the Heat there in the couple games at the end as well, and they should have gotten that game. They were that series, they were the better team in that series. But you couldn't, even if Davis was the best player in that series, it's like if your second best player in that series is LeBron James, it's kind of the, the biggest second best player asterisk of all time in terms of how can Davis fare on his own as a lead guy. But again, he's only a couple of guys right behind, behind Doncic in any type of hypothetical play ranking, if you want to be, pessimistic, optimistic, even if you're working those things in there. Like, to me, it's hard to look at it and go that this trade is just a wash both ways. I was thinking even like the Paul George versus Oladipo trade, just in the moment. And that's a version too where you could be optimistic. What did the Cavs have? 91.5. Oh boy, Davis, this trade better be good. This trade better be good. They're going to be giving up 180 points in this game, chat. This is nuts. They might actually get 200 in a regular season game. What a way to follow up this trade. I'm watching this game, like, it literally doesn't even matter the 2% optimism that I have that this could work out, because we're watching it right now. Like, this is just immediate bad luck. This immediate bad omens, bad just I get Kyrie's not playing. Guys are out. But, no Washington, no Gafford, none of that stuff, chat. But it's just tough vibes to put out there day one in the post Doncic era. But again, like, I don't know if you can call this a bad trade. It's a tough trade because it's definitely a gamble. Like, make no mistake with, again, the injury history and the age and stuff like that. But, the Mavs, we have to, like, 10% trust what they're seeing with Doncic as well in the day-to-day and in the conditioning and in the, just the getting ready and being the lead and being the face of the franchise and being all that stuff. And, in the case of him going to LA as well too, like, it's a tough trade because of the situation that he is being brought into. Like, if you're just looking at Anthony Davis blindly and just going, okay, yeah, we're getting Davis for Luka in a swap and we're just bringing in the guy that we want, which, kind of at the end of the day, like, you have to do as a team, even if it's not a version of the trade that, again, we would have ideally wished for Luka Doncic or whatever, which, we'll go through that in a second as well too. But what was I saying there, Chad? I just lost my train of thought on that. Oh well, it doesn't matter. The fact that you're trading him into a situation that could potentially be really beneficial for the weaknesses that you're sending him out for is also, like, a really big tough part of this pause, because a couple of the points that I heard made in the reaction to this that are really good, that would really be a reason to why this would work out, outside of the fact that they're just bringing in Luka Doncic as whatever, but just the extra couple of 2% pieces as well was, and Simmons made this point with Russillo and Rob Mahoney, and their reaction to it was, obviously the revenge factor that he's going to have, just that chip on the shoulder. It's like, wait, why would this team feel the need to trade me? And even if they have legitimate reasons, like, it's still like, oh man, there's a thing that they were seeing. Like, even if I thought I was still doing enough to keep me at the, like, and Russillo was saying this as well too. Like, maybe Luka Doncic is looking, like, Russillo was saying this for the team standpoint. Like, the team could look at it and go, it doesn't matter if Luka is, not taking it seriously, not staying in shape or whatever, because he's still able to play at this kind of level. But, like, Luka could look at that the same way and go, I'm still doing enough to keep me at this level. So if he has a chip on his shoulder where it's like, okay, now he has to really get into shape, then that's going to be really lethal as well. But you think about the potential teammate that he's going to have in LeBron. I say potential just because, that's another storyline that's out there with this whole thing, is what's going to happen with LeBron James now that his Clutch Sports buddy is been traded. Now that, Anthony Davis is gone, the Clutch Sports powers that dissolved from Los Angeles, who knows, like, what's going to happen with LeBron. But if he's there for this year and the next year or whatever, just like the time that Luka is going to be able to spend with LeBron and be able to see, and Wilbon made this point on SportsCenter on ESPN when I was watching, which, shout out to Wilbon. It looked like he'd literally been up all night just covering and and reading about this trade. And, like I said, I reacted to this trade when I woke up this morning, so it was great. Roll out of bed and you're like, oh man, Luka's up. But Wilbon, poor guy's just on the phones, just grueling through the night, and it's just got to do a random, like, 9 a.m. SportsCenter hit talking about half asleep, like, oh yeah, I think Luka Doncic is gonna be great. And whoa, sorry, SportsCenter host, but he did slip a good point in there where he where he was like, look, I mean, if you're talking about a guy that is having problems with conditioning and with staying in shape, like, literally the best role model and best person for him to view and to learn from and to see day to day is LeBron James. So, brutal situation to move him into if you're the Mavs. But again, you're bringing in Anthony Davis the other way, which we just need to give him a little bit of respect for the player that he is, even still at this point in the league, and still a guy that you can have, a really high level team around. And I know it's been a while since the Pelican days as well too. Like, this LeBron Davis run has been, a couple seasons now. The league has shifted over. We have a totally new CBA and, Prime, and all these new things are going to be in the mix. Like, we almost lost Inside the NBA on TNT. Like, things are going to be way different now that, through this LeBron versus Anthony Davis tenure. But I do think that the Mavs team that he is going into is a little bit better than maybe some of the Pelicans teams that he played with. I guess, still like the peak versions of maybe the Sam would say like the DeMarcus Cousins, Drew Holiday, Rondo. That one just half a season peak versions Pelicans team. Is that still like the best version of a Anthony Davis led team that we never saw? But and also in the response to the trade as well too. Again, they really did have their sights on Anthony Davis, and it really did seem like, like the reports were saying that was their one guy, and there was a lot of conversation about, whether or not you would shop a guy like, or not whether you would shop a guy like Luka Doncic, but if you would shop a guy like Luka Doncic, like what type of offer would you get for him? What type of package could you get? How many picks? Like all that stuff. And I think, the different types of offers that you could have gotten for Luka would have been very interesting to go see. Like obviously, I'm sure there's some very interesting things that you could have acquired from these other teams. But what I do think is kind of being lost in this trade from the Dallas side as well too. And again, not to say that this is not a Dallas won the trade sort of thinking thing. This is just like just trying to think about it positively from the Dallas side, because again, you see like the Dallas fans just feel crushed right now. It's like, come on guys, you're getting Anthony Davis. Like this is not the worst deal in the world. Like going back to the DeMar thing, like there is still that DeMar DeRozan thing. There is still that question of, I think you could build a title team around Anthony Davis. I think if you have the other pieces around him, it's a little it's close, Chad. It's close. Like we're saying, he's right on that level of like the most overqualified number 2 of all time versus just that last 1% that you need to just be that best guy on a final team and be that top guy. And it's the different. He's like the Jaylen Brown almost from last year, where it's like Jaylen Brown was awesome and the best player on the court for the majority of that Celtics series, but he's also able to do what he's able to do because of how Tatum is controlling the offense and sucking up just so much of the defense's attention. Like it's opening up the ability for Jaylen Brown to be able to work on these guys one-on-one. Pause again, but just the ability to have more of these favorable matchups and more space to be able to get into his isolation game, which is really where he strives as a player. But Davis is even like a step up from Brown. Like Brown is a type of guy where like, he's probably best suited as that type of player, whereas Davis is at least in this year. Like you bring in DeMar for Kawhi, and that was the problem with me with that trade. It's like, okay, we know what shout out to DeMar DeRozan. Like love to see it. The Not Like Us music video is great and all that stuff. The pop out, like shout out. But in terms of trying to win a title with him as a player and just that mental confidence as a fan, it's just that's a major step down from Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard was the Finals MVP at that point. And after that trade as well too, again, that's another retrospective trade where hindsight with that Cat Randall trade is going to continue to look more brutal every day. Hindsight from that Kawhi DeMar trade was you had to trade Kawhi because he was actually asking out. Like Luka wasn't even asking out here, but Kawhi goes on to win a title with the Raptors as well too. So Kawhi. I guess that's the other version of it. Like, is Luka going to win a title with the Lakers? Is that what we're saying here? But, Kawhi had already won a title and was playing at that level and was unlocking his offensive game and just was continuing to do that in Toronto as well, too. Whereas DeMar, you're like, okay, he's great. He's third-team All-NBA. He can give you 25 a game. Oh, wait a second. He can even shift his game a little bit to be a little more playmaker-y. And was he like 20-8 there for a 7? Maybe like 20-6, 6 a game-ish or whatever. But, he was really, really a fun player to cheer for and a great player and clutch as well, too. Like DeMar DeRozan in a big moment was reliable. That was fun about him. Some of the playoff stuff was, maybe a little sketchy. But in the regular season, you could count on the man to get you 2 points in the fourth quarter. And he was very, very big at pause in some clutch moments. But at least with Davis, you're like, we could still potentially build for the next couple of seasons a title contending team around this type of guys. So if you also, look at the type of team that Dallas has, like, Luka is just going to make any team that he goes to better because he's Luka Doncic. But, and, vice if losing Luka Doncic, like that's just going to be a brutal loss for your backcourt. But I mean, that is what the Dallas Mavericks are. Like the Mavericks are a team of swings and ball handlers and these kind of like one-on-one, need a look creator guys for themselves. And, obviously maybe the smart move would not be to move Luka out of that to, maybe break up a guy and free up some minutes. But again, you're not necessarily bringing in another redundant player for that, which I think is important to look at as well. It's like, okay, maybe the Mavs were at least putting a little, like there was at least 2% thought into the player that they were going to acquire. Because again, looking at that thought of what if the Mavs had shopped Luka Doncic and what could they have gotten for Luka Doncic? Well, I did go to the trade machine real quick and was like, let's just run through these teams real fast and see like what is on the potential market for Doncic. Like, is there this crazy move that would have fit their wish list for flipping this star player and for turning this team around? And there is, a bunch of teams that you could kind of look at and go, okay, they could maybe get like a bunch of, like we're saying, a picks package. There's some salaries and all this stuff that's going to be involved. Like the Bridges trade was being YouTube, don't cut us for that. That was just us saying half of contract. That's all it was. We're not saying British swear words over here. YouTube, the AI bots are going to be like, what did he just say? And they're going to take this stream down. But I don't know. I mean, people have said some pretty aggressive stuff on a YouTube live stream. I feel like they really only care if you start playing music and you're going to make money where UMG could be making money instead. But, yeah, like where you could get the contracts and stuff. But the Bridges trade was being brought up in this. And his trade is interesting to look at because, yes, it is a ton of picks. But picks are mostly what Brooklyn got back in that deal. Like the contracts that in the players that Brooklyn got back were mostly just that. They were just the contracts. Like Bogdanovich, I think was here. Let's actually pull that Bridges deal back up. Oh, again, basketball reference. Is it working now? Were we on timeout for a second? What was going on? It's got to let us in now. There's no way. Is our Wi-Fi down? Oh, man. We must be having Wi-Fi connectivity issues. What happens if we just... I was going to say, what happens if we go in through the back door, but pause. What happens if we just go in through Google? Will it change? Can we cheat the system? Can we trick it into making it work? I don't think so. We're going to have to reset the computer, unfortunately, and we're not going to be able to do that right now because we're on a live stream. But let's see if we can second screen pull this up real quick. I guess that's where it's going to be tough, chat, is the visual component. You're just going to have to take our word for it. You're just going to have to believe what we're reading is true. Ooh, man, and I guess we'll have to do the best we can. But I guess we're just looking for the contracts here. Like we said, they traded a ton of picks in that deal, like 5, 6, 7 picks or whatever. But the players that they traded back for Bridges were Bogdanovich, Diakite, and Shake Milton. So Shake Milton's like, Diakite and Shake Milton aren't even there. And Bogdanovich, again, like solid player, but that's just not a guy that I think you're really like considering. We're not dropping a diss track here on Bogdanovich, but that's not a guy you're considering like a piece in that kind of deal just because of where Brooklyn's going forward as a franchise. Like, yeah, maybe you consider him a piece because you can trade him off for something, but it's just it's just like a little bit of a different type of thing. So, like, could Davis get you 4 first-round picks right now or in the offseason? Like, probably. So it's still like you're still getting similar value for now. The Bridges to Doncic value is tough too because it's like Doncic is first team all NBA. Bridges is not at that level, so Doncic can give you that type of thing. But Davis on the other hand as well too is a first team all NBA level talent when he's at the peak of his powers. But again, like Brooklyn would be a perfect example. Like, yeah, I guess you could figure out the Brooklyn trade. Like it is a ton of picks and, there's some good players there, Cam Johnson, but that's just, that's a hodgepodge deal of what if. Same with the Wizards. Like, that's a lot of what if right there. You're not going to shop Doncic to the Wizards. The Blazers could, Advia, if you're going to start really scooping up contracts here. Like, what do we want? Scoot? We want Shaedon Sharpe? Like, we're just going to go, shop all the Blazers assets. Same with the Jazz. Same with the Raptors. Like, none of these teams you're going to really shop them to. Chicago as well. Like, Levine and some picks. You want to do Kobe White and Vooch and Pat Williams and some stuff like, these are assets, people. I'm not saying that these are bad players and bad pieces and things that you don't want. Kobe White's a nice player. I'm just saying, like, what are we sitting down here to figure out? Like, okay, how much work we trying to do as a GM? We trying to really narrow down this Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett for Luka Doncic trade. Like, again, the Mavs are a win now team, and that's important to think with this trade. So that is, I think, on one hand, you're going, okay, that's short-sighted for Luka Doncic. Are you narrowing your market for him, like cutting out, these teams that do have some of these picks? Like, maybe, yeah, you get 7 first-round picks. It's a lot of what if, but it's still a different version of it. Maybe you like it better if you're trying to do a full reset. But, it's like, okay, I'm fine if they're bypassing those teams. That's okay. I don't know if there's a lot of work there to be done with figuring out a trade. And there's even some teams as well, too, where, again, like you could figure out the package and you could get pause and you could get some guys to go back and to get some pieces that you really feel good about and to get the whole collection, because that's the thing. It's like people are just upset that they didn't get the collection of picks and the collection of players. But it's like, what are you getting back at the end of the day? Are you getting actually picks that you're going to use and you're going to be valuable and you're going to turn into a good player and, guys that are actually going to become something for the team? Or are you just getting a lot of, again, maybe stuff that might be like Golden State, You going to trade Doncic to Golden State? That's interesting. Is it Wiggins? Is it Kuminga? You want to throw Pods in there as well? That's a lot of pieces going back, and maybe even I think there might even have to be like one more contract in there with like Hield or Kyle Anderson or Gary Payton, take your pick of one of those guys. But that's a couple of interesting pieces, but that just sets your franchise in a different direction where you're going, okay, we're a young team now with Kuminga, with Podziemski, with Wiggins, who's still a nice role player. We've got the picks going forward. Like, being a young team is not bad, but they can't, with the guys right now, fully commit to being a young team unless, of course they're going to go full, trade Kyrie, which again you could do, and then trade PJ Washington and trade everything. But I think the point of this was to try to actually, I think the Mavs are still actually like trying to win the title. And it maybe does seem like a bad version of that gamble. But again, and, maybe just the thought is, Luka just shouldn't be on the trade market as well, too. Like, I get that. I'm just more willing to view Anthony Davis as a guy that is a worthy guy to take a shot at. But, again, you could have a team like the Warriors in the mix. There's also a couple of teams where, like New Orleans, like you start eyeing like Trey Murphy is an interesting thing. Jordan Hawkins, like they have a lot of young players, but Trey Murphy has a poison pill contract right now, so you can't really make a move for him at this point in the season. So you'd have to do that in the off season. And again, if you're trying to win the title, like you kind of do need to make the move now, especially, again, if Davis is your guy, and make sure to just get as many seasons. You're going to be like, well, panic is, of course. And again, I'm not defending the Mavs here. We're just trying to think positively. So it can be in just a little bit of a defendy mindset for the Mavs. But Orlando has the same thing with Franz. I was looking like, what if they were shopping him to Orlando? Could it be Paolo for Luka straight up? I don't even think Orlando would do that, to be honest. So maybe Franz and some stuff if they want to get really frisky, but you can't do it with Franz because of his poison pill contract right now. And then, in the off season, that's still a fun move. But, if Franz is the centerpiece of the deal and you're getting back Anthony Black again, you're still kind of in the same thing where you're not going to be making yourself closer to winning the title or keeping yourself in title contending thought with the players that you're bringing in. Miami, you're not going to do Butler for Luka. That wouldn't make any sense. So you're looking at Bam at that point, And Miami hasn't traded Butler yet. So I know we floated out the idea if, they trade Butler, what would it look like if they just reset the whole thing? But again, you're not going to trade Bam before you trade Butler. That wouldn't make sense. So Miami is kind of off the table because, again, you're not, Hero and Jaquez and picks is probably just not going to do it for you for a guy like Luka Doncic. So there's a couple of other teams as well, too. I wrote the list down really sloppily, so I want to make sure I do the proper reveal in the right order. But, speaking of Butler and a trade guy as well, too, Fox, was an interesting one I was thinking about because you could do like a Fox and Lyles for Luka. But then this gets into the different part of the segment or the different part of the trades where you go, okay, these are good trades and good players, but you are, like we're saying, you're kind of dabbling into those backcourt guys and those ball handlers and those primary creator type guys. And there just isn't anybody, and it's a case to why you wouldn't trade Luka, but there just isn't anybody in the league like that, like Luka. So yeah, you're bringing in Fox, and that's a little like we're saying, you could view that like the Davis, you're bringing in the lesser version of the guy, but he's still the young star. And, he's even younger than Davis. So you go, we even have more years around Fox, even though his ceiling might not be what Davis would be. But again, he's just not going to be what Luka is going to be as impactful in the front court. And I think you're bringing in Davis to kind of mix up that element and to give you a different look in the backcourt. So, like I said, Fox is an interesting look in this situation. I was thinking, like Charlotte, if you want to do like LaMelo Ball, for example, like would be an interesting, but would it be like Brandon Miller and Miles Bridges and that type of thing? But even still, if you're Charlotte, yeah, I mean, you're probably going to try to find a way to bring in Luka Doncic for Brandon Miller at some point, but that's still, Brandon Miller's a young asset. And if you're Mavs, you're in the same position where we're talking about. Now you're bringing in a rookie and you're really resetting the timeline around all these other guys in a totally different way. So Cleveland with Garland, there was a Garland in a LeVert contract that would work, which was interesting. Garland for Doncic, like Garland as a long-term asset, as a second piece. The years that you can get with Garland, is there a case there with that over Dave? Is there a case? But again, Garland is just a downgrade in the backcourt from Doncic, and he's just not as good, not going to be as impactful as Davis would be in these other ways. So I just couldn't quite justify getting there with that one. This one was really interesting, actually. It was like DeAndre Hunter and Dyson Daniels as the base of the trade. Jesus, Chad, we do like to we do like to be on here with complete trades and not just throw out ideas that may work. It's like, well, if it may work, it's like, does it work? It's, but I was looking on the trade machine, like, yeah, it's Hunter and Daniels and a contract or two. Just, take your pick of a guy that you want to throw in there. But just that as like a base trade, it's like, okay, we've seen what Dyson Daniels could be elite defensively. You get another young piece, you get a pick or two, you get Hunter as a wing in there. He's really shown some stuff, but that again is not going to make you a championship team. You're resetting the timeline. I think that was all kind of the iffy ones. Oh, going back to Boston as well, too. Like we're saying, Jaylen Brown for Luka is kind of the only version of a Boston trade you're doing. If we're shopping him around the whole league, Boston's probably not gonna be like Tatum for Luka. We're probably not gonna do that. It's an interesting one, but we're probably not gonna do it. So they can't aggregate guys. So at that point, it's really just Jaylen Brown for Luka, and Jaylen Brown's just not as good as Luka, and he's also just not as good as Anthony Davis. So maybe they throw in a couple extra picks, but there's just no really other reason to do that trade. Minnesota as well, they can't aggregate players, so you can't really shop him to Minnesota because otherwise you're just shopping him for Anthony Edwards at that point. And I don't even know, Edwards might be on like a $30 million a year contract. I guess internet's down right now, Chad. We don't need to look it up, but they might not even be able to do that in a 1-for-1. They might be able to just do Gobert for Doncic in like a 1-for-1. So yeah, it's like Minnesota's off the table as a team you were going to shop him to. The Clippers, they're just not really anything on the Clippers. Great team when it's kind of together. It's kind of feisty, obviously, but just when you're trading it for Doncic, they just don't have the pieces to get a guy quite of that caliber. Denver, there's Murray, Christian Braun, Najee potential, but again, you're not going to trade Murray for Doncic, and you can't really even do that until the offseason because Murray is on a recently signed restriction. So the Knicks, Bridges, Josh Hart, kind of interesting. Couple role guys, not really a guy that is a foundational piece and a main stud. So in the tier of guys that is like kind of interesting, because again, like I really wanted to, I'm proving that we did it, chat, but pause. I really wanted to put in the work and go, okay, if it's like you're going to shop Luka, and again, shopping him now versus shopping him in the offseason, shopping him as his contract expires, I think he has a couple more years in that contract, the market, who's available, all that stuff will change. But some of the ones as of right now that I thought were at least a little eyebrow raising. Oh, I guess the Pacers were another team that's kind of on the border where it's like there's not really a combination that they can get together. They can, throw, I guess, every young guy they have at him, or pause. Oh, that's crazy. Or, it's like a Halliburton for Doncic 1-for-1, and that doesn't make sense. But, Phoenix can't aggregate, but Booker for Doncic is like, okay, if you're going to do Davis for Doncic, that is interesting. But that, I think, goes to prove the point where Booker's going to be another sort of wing backcourt creator. And now Doncic, you get this, or with Davis, you get this front court dominant element that at least gives you something different to rely on. But is there like a Ja for Luka conversation that could be had if Memphis is like, we could talk ourselves into being worried about some of the other off-court stuff with John. If Dallas has their concerns with Luka, is there a move to be made there? But again, you're doing the guard swap. There was another, I guess Edwards was the other guard swap that I was going to mention. And then I guess the only other like super crazy, but maybe did they make the call, would have been, Giannis in Milwaukee. Would have been the only other one where it's like, if Davis was available for Luka, could Milwaukee have talked themselves into resetting their timeline and getting a new face of the franchise? And now you have Giannis, and you go, okay, if we're going to try to win the title and put a guy in the front court to help Kyrie and help these wings and help. And again, you're not trading Doncic to open the door for Spencer Dinwiddie. It's maybe lesser graded version of what the Aces are doing with Kelsey Plum and Jewel Lloyd. And, the difference is maybe they're a little closer in the public perception of a player ranking for where those guys are at right now in the, in their respective leagues. But you go, okay, like you can make the case. Yeah, Kelsey Plum is as good of a player as Jewel Lloyd, but Jewel Lloyd gives you a different look as a better sort of one-on-one shot maker. And Davis gives you this different center look, whereas Doncic was this sort of on-ball dominant backcourt guy who controlled, every piece of the offense. And I guess we forgot to mention San Antonio as like a potential destination if he wanted to go with Wemby. And, like we know, again, like what the contracts would be for like, I don't usually say names for a Spurs trade, but because we know it wouldn't happen, because I know I wouldn't, I guess it's not that we wouldn't endorse it, Chad, but, but like Vassell and all that stuff, just from the Mavs perspective with like what they're trying to accomplish. Again, shout out to Vassell, but it's just a different type of centerpiece to a deal. So again, you look around the league and you just go, okay, they're getting either a lesser version of a guard with more stuff, or they're just getting totally more stuff, or they're just getting a player that's probably not as good as Anthony Davis. Because again, we mentioned all the guys that you could make the case for, I think, over Doncic at this point. Doncic. But, but, like the next tier of guys, Brunson is maybe in that mix. I guess, we were saying Edwards is like a long-term guy is in kind of that tier one. But, Davis is going to be right at like we were saying, right up at the next group of that next tier of guys. Whether the guys we were mentioning earlier, Jaylen Brown or Devin Booker or Ja Morant or, Tyrese Maxey was another one I forgot to float out. Like you could have done before the Sixers traded the Tucker contract, like you could have potentially done Maxey and Tucker for Luka Doncic. Like is that an interesting, oh, do we want to reset around a different young guard that we trust his work ethic more? But I don't know. Do you trust his upside to be more as a title winning team right now? Like over the next couple of seasons, like I just don't know if that gives you that type of impact. So all I'm saying is let's just give Anthony Davis a chance to impact the Mavs. I guess that's really what it is. It's not let's give the Mavs a chance. It's let's give Anthony Davis a chance. Because yeah, again, if you're the Mavs, it's hard to justify trading Luka Doncic, but you are getting Anthony Davis was on the All-75 team. You're getting one of the 75 best players in NBA history in return for Anthony Davis. And I know you're going to say, well, Luka is, could potentially be one of the top 20. It's like, well, he isn't right now. And as good as Doncic has been this year, with as impactful as he's been as well too throughout the course of his career, like again, going back to Davis, the Lakers, we might have felt better, just pre-trade Davis and LeBron and the combination that they had, and Luka and Kyrie and the combination that was. Did we feel better than the Lakers winning the title this year over the Mavs? Again, I think there's the long-term stuff with Luka. I think because the Mavs were just immediately in the finals last year, if there's of the teams we don't trust, do we trust the Mavs more because they surprised us? It's like a weird thing like that. But it's like, at the end of the day, the Lakers were a better team this year than Dallas, with Luka hurt for a lot of this season, but especially with the way the Western Conference was shaping out, like they're kind of a sleeper team. Again, before the trade, and they'll look a different way now after the trade. But Davis, again, is a big reason and the reason why that they were that team that you could look at and go, hey, maybe they could be a problem in the Western Conference. Davis is going to be a mismatch for some of these teams. Like Hartenstein has been a big addition for the Thunder, and he gives you a great defensive presence there, and some more size, a different look next to Chet. But Davis is still a mismatch for the Thunder. He's still a mismatch for the Grizzlies. Edey's a different look, but again, he's even a rookie at this point. Like a rookie, whatever peak Zach Edey is going to be, he's not going to be it as a rookie and not going to be it in this version of the playoffs, even if he is really good in this playoffs. But he's also going to probably still be a mismatch for the Rockets, And the Rockets are going to be an interesting team just because of maybe the small ball that they'll be able to go to. And actually, that's a trade that I forgot to mention as well, too, for shopping him. Like, Giannis would be the one. Like, if you're going to trade him for Davis, could you have gotten Giannis? And the other one, just because he's a hot name right now, is Amen Thompson. It's like, is there an Amen Thompson for Luka? Amen Thompson and Van Fleet for Luka and Kleba. Like, I don't know how the contracts would be able to line up, because it was hard to kind of go back through the trade machine because Luka's obviously not on the Mavs anymore, but you can rig it and make it work, and you just have to put in more time. But I guess there is other trades that we did we go through all 30 trades, all 30 teams, I guess all 28 other team possibilities. I guess you'll have to check the tapes. But Detroit, it's just like, you want the Mavs to sit down and get 17 Detroit picks? Like, okay, that's fine, and Jaden Ivey and all these things. Or you just get a stud player in Anthony Davis, And maybe they missed out also by not getting another pick or two. Like, that is also fair. But like I'm saying, let's just give Anthony Davis a chance to impact this team and go, hey, now they have a dominant offensive and defensive center. Like, he's going to be able to help them as a defensive team, but they're going to be able to go to him as well, too, in some of these matchups. But Kyrie in the backcourt, I think watching him this year as well has maybe really helped them make the confidence to pull the trigger in that move, where they go, hey, maybe without Doncic, they've kind of watched the backcourt operate and go, there's a functionality here. And yeah, obviously, again, the long-term stuff, the team building, what Doncic can give you in the end of games, I get it. I'm not saying that it's the smart thing to do. I'm just trying to put myself in their shoes and go, there's a continuity that they're seeing. They're watching Kyrie create and get shots at the end of games and go, we've had our eyes on Anthony Davis for a long time. If we put him in the middle of this team with the way that they're able to create this year, like maybe that is just a look that we go, last year we fell short defensively. Is this version of the team, with the way the Western Conference has progressed, going to get better? I'm just saying that to me, this is not like 80-20 Dallas won the trade, you know? It's 60-40, 65-35. You know, it's definitely, again, at the end of the day, the Lakers got the guy who is the younger guy, and there's just more time that you have to win titles. Like, that's always the move in my mind is, okay, yeah, Davis let's say he gives you 5 years. You have 5 good years left, you know, and that may seem like a lot of peak Anthony Davis years left. So let's say, you know, 4.5 if we're saying this season, you know, he's giving you half a season of those really good Anthony Davis years. And everybody's saying 10 years of Doncic. Like, that put Doncic at 35 too. Like, you know, we could even give Doncic 8. But, you know, 10 years of Doncic, you know, if you're making a player move, it's always, okay, is the 4 or 5 years of this player, how many titles could he give you versus the 10 years of this player? Like, you know, maybe Jokic isn't going to give you as many years at this point as a guy like Anthony Edwards, but in the years that Jokic has remaining, do you feel like he could give you as many shots as a title as Anthony Edwards could over the course of his career? Like, it's just one of the, you know, that's kind of, to me, how I kind of try to calculate also some of these player moves. And it's like, okay, at the end of the day, Doncic is still probably going to give you more title shots over the course of his career, just because of the time thing. Like, I would still even say, if we were just going over the next 4 to 5 years, like, it's close. You may give Doncic like a quarter of a title more than Davis, but if Davis got a title as the best player on a team in the next 4 years and Doncic got one, like, I wouldn't be totally shocked if they both got one. So it really then just goes into like, oh yeah, Doncic is he's 25, he gives you a couple years, and, you know, again, I wouldn't be shocked if Doncic got 2 over the next 10 years, where if Davis was getting 2 in the next 5, that would seem, you know, a little bit aggressive and really seem, I would definitely be, and I don't know if shocked would be the right word, because again, Anthony Davis is a great player, and we've always thought that he could be this generational talent. So maybe it would be like, it'd just be more in awe of like, wow, he actually emerged in Dallas post this trade as this just all-time generational player. But I do feel bad for him in the dialogue of this trade, because it's like the Mavs have made this dumb move, and it's like, well, yeah, they're getting back an amazing player, you know? I get the 2K factors, all this. I get I understand it. Like, I'm admitting that LA won the trade. Like, if I was LA, I think I would have done this trade. But even still, it is close, because there's a additive value that Davis had next to LeBron, where Davis had, like, if there was like a 2K badge for like boost for playing with LeBron, like, Davis just got the biggest sort of boost in the league. And again, I don't think it was a sort of perception of his talent. Like, I still feel great about Davis as, you know, a player in the league. He's still going to be an awesome player, but maybe just his security on the team felt more secure because of him next to LeBron. But, you know, if you're going to put Luka Doncic on the board, it's going to be a tough call to make. And at the end of the day, from, again, a smart basketball standpoint, it is still, even if, like I'm saying, I don't believe the math is as overwhelming in the favor of the Mavs as I think it's being perceived, like, it's still in favor of the Mavs. It still says you have to do the move. Like, it still says you have to go for it on 4th down. It's still the smart thing to do, and I would still have done it if I was running the Lakers. And you do have to give credit to Pelinka for, you know, always being willing to make the smart basketball move. Like, I know the team has had its cycles of rebuilding and going up and down and acquiring players, but it does seem like he's always trying to make the best basketball move. And he goes, okay, like we're saying, I don't know what this is going to do for the title picture in the West this year. Like, are the Lakers going to be as good of a playoff team this year? Like, I just don't know. Doncic has been hurt all year, and he gives you that long-term thing. But like we're saying, he's out of shape as well. The Mavs have said that. He's hurt. Is this season just going to be kind of a, let's get him in, let's get him adjusted, let's see what we have, and let's just go, hey, we have a new stud young talent to build around, and let's just work with that going forward? Or are they actually going to be a team that is going to be competitive with him and LeBron in the backcourt and him and Reeves? Like, are they going to make all this stuff work together? You know, I don't know how this is just totally going to affect that picture and totally going to be impacting the playoff run. But again, from the LeBron standpoint of this as well too, because people have been talking about LeBron and talking about what happens next with LeBron as well, because now that you have Luka, you go, could we just reset this whole thing and say, hey, we have a chance to just get a whole new set of young talent. We didn't get all the young picks with Davis, but maybe we get some picks with LeBron and we reset this in a new way. We have Reeves, we have Connect, we have Bronny. There's just some real young stud talent that we can put around Luka and just try to go forward and build a new version of the team. But if you're LeBron, I don't know if you need to be looking out if you're LeBron. Because that was the other thing as well, too. It's like, do they trade Davis and then LeBron goes to Golden State, for example, which was a move that was floated out earlier in the season. But, I mean, let's be honest. Earlier in the season, that move was much more attractive. Like, the Warriors were playing better. Buddy Hield was making every three-point shot. And Steph Curry still looked like he could be a guy that could take your team to the finals. And Steph Curry still has his moments. Like, he's still awesome. But he's not... You're not going to play with Steph Curry. You're going to play with the version of Steph Curry that he is now. But... you're not going to be the second fiddle to Steph Curry's title team. Like, Davis is objectively a better teammate right now than Steph Curry, and Doncic is also just objectively a better teammate right now than Steph Curry. So they're, especially the way the Warriors are playing, like, there's just no reason to be making a move to that team. If he's going to be going, like, sticking closer in the area, I was also thinking Phoenix. Like, we just saw... do like a Doncic Davis trade. Would Phoenix do like a Booker for LeBron trade? And now all of a sudden we have LeBron and Durant on the same team, but that actually doesn't work out in the trade machine because Phoenix, again, they can't aggregate and they can't like take money over the cap or whatever. And it just, there's no 1v1 LeBron Booker thing that works out. So he can't go to Phoenix. And to be honest, like outside of those two teams, it's difficult to look around from the legacy standpoint and just go, okay, like, it's kind of the same thing. Yeah, I guess you could work out a trade for LeBron to go. And I know this point has been made with LeBron in the past. I guess it's maybe not something that I've totally just been like, yeah, let's put this at the forefront of it as a point for why LeBron should stay. But it is true. Like from a legacy standpoint, like where else is he going to go that's really going to be like an additive thing? I guess a title is always going to be an additive thing. But, is he going to, again, with some of these teams like Boston can't aggregate. So it's going to be a 1-for-1 for some of these other like major title contenders. And, if he's going to go to like one of these younger sort of up and coming teams, it's just, what is a title for him next to Paolo? Like it's awesome, but he's going to go be second fiddle to Paolo in Orlando. He's going to go second fiddle to Shea in OKC. There's just really no like legacy. It would be a weird thing for LeBron because he would be the second best player on those teams. And again, maybe LeBron got a boost for playing with Davis. Maybe that's what it was. Like LeBron, you were still able to look at those two guys, and because of the history that they had, you were able to view LeBron as sort of the alpha dog and the top dog. And if he goes to another one of these teams where it's established they have young guys, that's the top dog on the team. And you're obviously not going to trade Shea for LeBron. You're not going to trade Anthony Edwards for LeBron. And are you going to do Gobert for LeBron in a swap if you're Pelinka? Like that, I don't think that'd be Pelinka doing the smart basketball move every time. I think LeBron would be the guy that you would have to keep, in that situation. But it's just hard to find the legacy and the fit and the competitiveness that all lines up. That's still, and still at the end of the day, not LA, because you could argue that, again, Doncic in the individual ranking is a little bit better than Anthony Davis. But the three teams that I were thinking, like, if there was a 2% open door now for LeBron to leave somewhere, where would it be? Knicks fans, they're always talking about LeBron. He wants to go to the Knicks. They want LeBron to be their savior. LeBron will be 50 years old and tired in the media, producing documentaries for Spring Hill. And they'll be like, he'll produce a documentary that'll motivate the Knicks to win a title. They just think he'll be the savior of MSG. But maybe if he was going to leave, that team would make sense from a legacy. Brunson is there as the top dog. We've seen Towns take a step up this year as well. But if they were able to, like, still them able to get LeBron and, say they do win the title this year, like that would be a big storyline of, yeah, you know what? They did go out and get Towns, and, the Brunson contract and all this stuff was, that was the pieces that built this Knicks core. But in that Spring Hill documentary, it's gonna be like, what that final piece was? They couldn't get past Boston. They couldn't get past Cleveland. Orlando was right on their tail. And you know what that last piece that solidified and set in stone the New York Knicks as an NBA champion was? LeBron James. Like that, like from a legacy standpoint, that still makes sense. So it's like, okay, maybe. And if you're the Lakers, if there's like some Anunoby for LeBron stuff, like that's a tough one because, and I guess I don't know what happened with Anunoby as well too the other night. He did go down in that Knicks game. So, like we're saying, the Davis news has swallowed up everything right now. Doncic news is at the forefront. If we haven't even gotten to the Cowboy Carter tour yet, we're a couple of minutes away from getting to the OG Anunoby injury update. That's for sure. But, I don't know what his season status is. And it was like a non-contact thing. It was weird. I had the game on mute, but it seemed like it wasn't a good ordeal. But it is an interesting, like, Anunoby and... is it Hart? Is it Mitchell Robinson now? Like going back as a center? And then maybe, I don't know, do the Lakers now have to throw a contract back the other way? And you go, okay, we have another big there. Anunoby as a wing. Maybe the Knicks have to throw in a protected pick in some way. And then you think offensively what LeBron could give you. I'm just saying, like, there's a case there. And there is a case for Cleveland as well. If he wants to go back to Cleveland, Jarrett Allen and some contracts, and I don't know if they really have any picks left, but Jarrett Allen's a pretty good player as well. So, I mean, he's not LeBron level, but if you get Jarrett Allen and a couple of shooters, LA's not as, like, we got to win the title right now as Dallas. So I think they'd be okay with going, okay, if we get some assets back and we're not as good, like, that's totally fine. Just so long as we're, have the direction underway for whatever we're trying to accomplish going forward. But I actually think that New York would actually be a little bit cooler than Cleveland, just because, he's going to go back to Cleveland for a third time. Like, we've already seen that storyline in the NBA. Let's get a new storyline in here. The Doncic-Davis one was a great twist. Great plot twist for the season. We did not see that one coming. You got to credit to the NBA. But the last team would be the Spurs. If he wanted to go play with Wemby, could that be the one guy where it's like, we get it, LeBron, your fascination with... Wemby is such a... fascinating historic player that if you're going to make the concession to go be the number 2 with anybody, it's like, yeah, we get it. You got to go at least have a couple of seasons with Wembanyama and see what's going on there. But the LeBron and his Leo DiCaprio age, he's like, which young player in the league can I go team up with to win a title? But again, yeah, crazy plot twist, man. Did not see this coming. And I know there's going to be conspiracies about Luka. He's going to the Lakers. How can the Lakers get just another primetime player? But them getting a primetime player is, I think, also an important part of this deal. And not just a primetime player, but they're getting a primetime international player, which, going to something that we've talked about, and again, a conversation that has just been at large in the media, but I guess, in our response to it, the conversation has been, can an international player be the face of the NBA? And my answer has always been, I think, of course. I think we've seen guys in the league like Doncic in Dallas, and I think Giannis in Milwaukee. It's like those guys, I think, have gotten so close that you could absolutely see a player taking those last couple of steps and becoming the face of the league. Like Jokic is right there for doing it. Wemby, it's like he's absolutely on pace to become that. So it's like, yeah, I don't think there's a question that an international guy can become the face of the league, even if we're seeing it take a little bit of time to develop. But, I mean, people, this is the perfect place. This is the perfect time. This is the perfect opportunity for it. This is literally, I mean, if we want to put that theory to the test of can an international player be the face of the league, I mean, this is it. Luka Doncic is the young talent. Luka Doncic is, and he's not just the young talent. Luka Doncic is the young talent that has the backstory. Luka Doncic has been in our lives for a while. Luka Doncic has pedigree. He has that chosen one vibe to him where he's not, and the guys that we mentioned as well too that have, I was making the case earlier, like, do I take Tatum over Luka? Do I take Shea over Luka? It's all state of the league right now, but those guys were not as hyped, whatever. Those guys were not as regarded entering the league as Luka Doncic was. Luka Doncic is one of maybe the 5, it's hard to say he's one of the 5 best prospects of all time when you're the 3rd overall pick in your own draft. But offensively anyways, as a offensive creator, he's absolutely one of the all-time upside guys that we've had, and his accomplishments as a youth basketball player, but in the pro system in Europe was just, outright incredible for a guy his age. And the fact now that a guy with that kind of history and with his kind of upside and with his already production is in a place like LA, this is perfect. This is exactly what the league wants, which is exactly why we're going to get conspiracy theories about why this happened. But again, it's going to put that to the test. And Wemby is going to put it to the test as well, too, in San Antonio, just as does it even matter if a guy is in LA? But this is like the no excuses version of it, where if for some reason, and it's, we can't even say that Wemby won't be as captivating because Wemby already is. Do we need to do a Dana White here? Just look at the clips. Look at the social media. Wemby's the power slap of the NBA. He gets more buzz than all of these guys combined if you just look at the number on the social media engagement. But, if there's for some reason in the future that it's okay, Wemby's not quite ascending to the popularity levels that we assume, because make no mistake, he'll get all the achievements, right, chat? We will be seeing him win a couple of titles soon. Hopefully, chat, I'm really going to be crushed as a fan. But, if for some reason his standing in the league is just a little bit different, then there is always going to be that, well, he is in San Antonio, he is in a smaller market. And that's the weird thing with the young talent right now. It's well, Shea, he is in OKC, he's in Anthony Edwards, he is in Minnesota. Giannis, he's in Milwaukee. Paolo, he is in Orlando. It's a credit to the league, it's where we're at right now that all of these teams seem to have some kind of different version of a stud talent or an all-star player or a guy that's he has been on All-NBA, he could be on All-NBA. I guess, the Clippers just have a collection of talent that somehow is playing well, and they have Norm Powell, who's awesome. I guess, we should have wrote down Doncic for Norm Powell. I guess that's the only other trade that you're doing, right, chat? Pause. You could bring in Norm Powell. That would make sense. He's awesome this year. But, you have all these young guys in these situations that you could potentially make excuses for. And Dallas is, of course, a big market, but it's not the headliner team. Now we have an under 25 guy star on these headliner teams. And Tatum has been that in Boston for sure. But, Tatum has been 90%, 95% of the way there. He just hasn't quite climbed up there yet. And, who knows where Cooper Flagg's going to end up landing. Maybe that's the only other move. Are we just continue to add moods going back to Brooklyn? It's I guess, do you trade Doncic on draft night to whoever has Cooper Flagg's pick? Would you guys trade Doncic for Cooper Flagg? Let us know. Well, maybe we'll do a poll, some would you rathers. Could they have gotten Giannis? Could they have gotten Cooper Flagg? Or could they have gotten Amen Thompson? I got to be honest. Yeah, looking at the list, it's those are the only, that just shows you Doncic's talent. And I'm saying outside of Davis. If you were looking at the list and you were going, oh, before the trade, and also, Davis is on here as an option, I'd be looking at that going, Doncic for Davis. What does that look like? Maybe I would ultimately shut that one down and just go, because of the age, you got to stick with Luka. But all I'm saying is let's give Anthony Davis a chance, people. Let's just give Davis a chance. He's a great player. He's a stud. He's an All-NBAer. He deserves his respect. I guess we're not Soder. We can't just bust out a Rodney Dangerfield impersonation, but Anthony Davis, no respect. No respect. Are we watching Back to School tonight, chat? Maybe I guess we got to finish Groundhog's Day. We were watching that a little bit earlier. Because today, of course, is the one day. It's February, so it is Sinai Lathan month. You got to just have Brown Sugar and Love and Basketball and repeat all month. It's February, Valentine's month. But Groundhog's Day is the one day that you make an exception to the rule and play the Bill Murray classic. So we watched a little bit of that earlier and then had to run and go do some stuff. But pause. Wait, yo. But I guess once we get back, after Sinai Lathan month is done and after Groundhog Day is out of the works, is there any other must-watch February on this day type movies? Honestly, that movie is just keeping Groundhog's Day alive. That's the only reason I look forward to Groundhog's Day. Is I just know there's a set occasion reason to watch this Bill Murray classic. Like, imagine, Chet, like, if there's, like, nephews or nieces or kids in the picture at some point, and it's, like, you get to the point in your life where you have to start, what movies are you going to be passing down? What are you going to show them? Like, you got to start instilling traditions. Like, the only reason that Groundhog Day is going to become a tradition is because of that movie. Like, the Doncic thing has become so popular today that I haven't even seen a post of the Groundhog. Like, that's how crazy this move has gotten. The Groundhog news is just totally wiped out. I don't even know how much longer winter is going to be going on for. Pause. But we do know that maybe winters are coming for Dallas, chat. I don't know with the Davis move. We will see. But like I'm saying, I want to be... And it's not optimistic that... Like, this is one of those moves that's like, okay, do they have to win the... They kind of have to win the title, or at least they have to get back, right? Because Luka got there. So if Davis just gets back, then can we look at it and go, okay, they at least made the same sort of impact? And, you look at the West, like, and maybe at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, do you want the on-ball creator like Luka Doncic? But if you have the on-ball creators that you do and Davis in that mix, and now it's like, okay, maybe the Lakers aren't going to be in the mix as much if Luka's down this year. Memphis and Houston, like, how do we match up against those teams? And, Denver becomes an issue. I think Luka was a matchup issue for Denver, whereas maybe Davis and the Jokic thing, it's a little more even. But if you could somehow avoid playing Denver, like, Dallas is in an interesting spot in the West. If they stay healthy and they get good play. And they were kind of like that with Luka anyways. So... Again, the long-term stuff definitely in play, and that's gonna be what wins the day. But in terms of the 3 to 4 year impact with Anthony Davis, like, to me, it's pretty close. It's Anthony Davis is 95% the impact that Luka Doncic is gonna give you at the end of the day over the next couple of years here. And yeah, you're gonna go, well, Doncic, you're losing out on 7 to 8 years of Doncic. Like, yeah, that is true. Also, you just never know with these guys. And I'm not sitting here doubting Doncic. I'm just saying, like, the league also changes. Paolo just gets better. Like, guys don't get worse. Some other guys just get better, and it becomes, trendy in the moment, whose season is just who's having the run that year. But they also said something on SportsCenter that kind of caught my attention as well, too, where it kind of reminded me that they were like, Doncic led the league in scoring last year. And I was like, man, obviously his offensive game has gotten to the peak of the league, but it's like, how many guys led the league in scoring and then got traded the next season? Obviously scoring leaders have gotten traded, but the season after it happened and then moved directly the next season. So I went back and looked, and it's only 3 guys that it's happened to. The last guy, the most recent guy, was Harden, and it was not Harden in OKC, obviously, because he was not leading the league in scoring in OKC, but it was Harden led the league in scoring in the 1920 season, and then got traded to Brooklyn the year after that. Tracy McGrady in the 2003-2004 season got traded that offseason to the Rockets. I don't remember if that was I don't remember because it was like a toddler, but I don't remember in looking back up, it didn't say if it was a sign-in trade or if it was just a direct trade in the offseason. I don't remember the timeline in that. And then the only other guy that I remember correctly, if I looked through the list correctly, was Bob McAdoo in 1976-77. So that was also just an interesting list of guys to look back and go, okay, Harden, McGrady, and McAdoo. Like, we want to be optimistic and say that Doncic, and with all due respect to those guys, like, those guys had amazing careers. Again, it's just optimism for Doncic, just looking forward to the next generation. Like, you want to say that Doncic can have better careers and win titles and accomplish things that those guys didn't, but those are also guys that are kind of in a similar spot of Doncic. Those are guys that were really high-powered offensive guys that absorbed up a lot of the offense, and we still just had a lot of stock and a lot of faith in at the end of the day. And McGrady, at the peak of his powers, would just have these offensive performances, and you're like, McGrady versus Kobe, McGrady versus Wade. I guess that's 03, 04 in those Orlando years, a little bit before that, those early 2000s, a little bit before Wade emerges. But Kobe's not quite full Kobe at that point. And then even when Kobe goes full Mamba mode, like, McGrady's still in Houston, peak of his powers, like every bit as good as these other two guards in the league. And again, at the peak of his powers, honestly, like, he checked Tracy McGrady is, and maybe it's because I've just been absolutely torched it back in my college days by a buddy that used to just wreck me with Tracy McGrady in 2K, just absolutely destroy me. But shout out. But peak heat check Tracy McGrady could go toe to toe with any offensive two guard in NBA history. Again, Michael Jordan, you're taking his career. It's no question, like, there's guys with established careers over Tracy McGrady, but McGrady at the peak of his powers is every bit as good as those guys. Harden offensively, every bit as good. Bob McAdoo could score with the best of them, but there was just something about those guys where they couldn't quite get over the edge. And Doncic is early enough in his career where we're not full on for those questions yet, but I know the Mavs are asking different questions as well, too. They're off-court questions, they're personality questions, they're leadership questions, which are, just as big of a question. But if we're looking on court, like, as talented as Luka is and as great and as impactful as he can be on the court, like, I get that in the conversation of building a title team, it may be not as obvious his sort of fit in that compared to some of these other guys. So, again, all I'm saying is give Davis a chance. If you want to roast the Mavs, go for it. The Mavs deserve to be roasted. Nico Harrison, roast away, man. Right to the, not Blair Witch Project. What is the Salem Witch Trials? That's what we're thinking of, I don't know. Well, I guess YouTube's definitely going to take us down now. We can't start calling for that stuff. But, the basketball version of it anyways, just the fandom Twitter version of it, and Sam was sending me some of the stuff about this guy's history as well, where this guy was like one of the reasons that Nike lost Steph Curry, and he's also was on the, part of the Mavs when they lost Brunson. So they've lost Brunson, they've lost Doncic, and you kind of peel back the layers and you go, okay, like, you're scared to pay Doncic a high-level talent, like we've seen that before with Harden. At the end of the day, that not work out. But even that's a good comparison of this type of move where, Harden obviously eventually leveled up to be that kind of a player. But, you get a couple of picks, you get a couple of contracts back, and it's tough to equal the value of one player with that stuff. I know we like to look at it with trades and do it. And for some teams, it really does work out. But, I mean, look, the Thunder are a rare example, The Thunder are a little Chiefs-ish right now. Maybe they're becoming that. Maybe they'll three-peat with Shea and Chet and all these guys. Who knows? But just if you go back and obviously if you trade Shea for Paul George, like, that becomes an even move. Like, the way Shea grew as a player, makes that trade retrospectively way more out of whack. And obviously they gave up too much. Like, they just gave up for too much for Paul George because they were calculating the fact that they were getting Kawhi Leonard into that trade. So the Thunder benefited the Thunder basically traded Kawhi and they didn't have him on the team. Like, that's kind of the sneaky reason why they're able to just get this massive overhaul and get what they were able to get. But it's like every other trade besides the Thunder, you kind of look at the teams and you go, okay, like, what have the teams become, Like, even the Pelicans, when they traded Anthony Davis, that trade was an awesome trade. And they've gotten the Pelicans have actually gotten a ton of great picks out of that trade as well, too. I forget, basketball reference doesn't work there. Let's go double check and actually see what that move was. They got players that were good in the moment, players that became better. Lonzo Ball became a better player after leaving LA. He's had better years, His stock improved. But at the end of the day, would we look back retroactively and go, the Pelicans won that trade? In the moment, I know, shout out Simmons and Russillo. They said they definitely did, but you can't really say that looking back. The trade is, and the Pelicans moved on from guys as well too. Like, maybe they didn't manage their assets the best. Like, if this team had stayed together, who knows what it becomes. But even if it does, like, they got Brandon Ingram, they got Lonzo Ball, they got Josh Hart, they got DeAndre Hunter, who was drafted in that draft, so traded as a pick. They got Dyson Daniels in the 2022 draft. They got a 2020. Oh, they got a 2023 pick and a 2025 pick as well too. Why doesn't it say the 2023 pick on here? Who did they? Oh, was it Hawkins? Did they pick Hawkins with that Lakers pick? I think they did. Let me go look and see if that's correct here, because it'll tell us Jordan Hawkins trade history even. like the history of him traded as a draft pick as well too. So we can go back and look and see if there was any moves made. No, that was just their own pick. But it would have been the same draft. So let's just pull up this draft here real quick and look who they got with their other pick. Did they trade out? I think they may have been in this like Clowney or Whitehead range. Let me see here. In Dallas, they did make that draft night trade as well too. So who knows, looking back, if the salary that they cleared that night, if that kind of helped free up things for this as well. Oh, no, that's right. Was there some kind of deferred situation? So do they get to pick this upcoming draft? I think that's what it is. Because, yeah, the Lakers had their pick, so they ended up taking Connect, which is like a crazy, or no, not in this draft. Oh, wait, I think I'm looking at the wrong draft. So this would have been the Hood Schifino draft. So let me see. Was it the 20? Did they defer it to the 24 year? And then, oh, no, that's right. Because, yeah, they did take Connect last year. So I don't know, chat. We're down a rabbit hole now. Pause. But either way, like, you know, and with as good as Dyson Daniels has become, like, we just brought Dyson Daniels up in a potential, is he a valuable asset in a Luka Doncic trade? Like, is that how valuable he has become now? But if the Pelicans team was Dyson Daniels, DeAndre Hunter, Josh Hart, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and whatever, you know, that if it's the team that they traded for Anthony Davis, it's a good team. The team's not winning the title. It's not even close. It's you know, maybe a play-in team, depending on which conference it's in. Like, let's be honest, they don't really have a star there. And put Trey Murphy on that team. Put Zion still on that team. Like, the version that Zion that we have now. Even peak Zion. Like, not peak Zion, obviously. It's a different conversation. But, you know, looking back, it's like, yeah, Davis, probably at the end of the day, the guy you want to have. Davis is the all-star. So, you know, that OKC thing is a kind of a tough situation, but it's just hard to turn these assets. And, you know, like the Spurs are an interesting one too, because they maybe got a little bit more for DeJounte Murray than you would want. So now the market's off and, you know, things just look crazy. But like we're saying as well, Bridges too, the Nets aren't getting a stud player back in that Bridges deal. They've got draft picks that they've got to try to turn into things and turn into players. And, you know, if Brooklyn hits on their draft picks like New Orleans did, if Brooklyn gets a Trey Murphy and they get a guy that's as good as, you know, I guess Josh Hart they traded, but, you know, if they get guys that are on those levels, if they get their team looks like Trey Murphy and Josh Hart and Cam Johnson and, you know, these, like, that team is still not, I guess, again, Bridges is a different guy, but, you know, Murphy versus Bridges is pretty close. If you were able to get a Trey Murphy level talent, you know. But I guess at the end of the day, Anthony Davis is a great player. So I'm not don't feel bad, Mavs fans, that you got Anthony Davis. Look at your team's going to be different. Your team is, you know, expectations have changed for sure, but the caliber of star that you're rooting for as of right now is not significantly less. Like I'm saying, there's the long-term stuff, the mental stuff that you have to come to grips with. He was the face of a franchise, that's another crazy part of it as well too. Like, you just don't pivot away from a face of the franchise in the peak of his powers when there's really no rumblings going on. Like, have we ever even seen that? Like, I think Simmons did call it the craziest trade in NBA history. But, you know, just oh, well, I guess we're going to pivot away from our star at the peak of his powers without him asking for it. Like, has that ever happened? A star player of that caliber, a legitimate, this guy should be winning the MVP of the league. And those are kind of the little things where it's like, you know, is Davis winning the MVP of the league? Is he quite on that tier, you know? Like, I get it when you're saying that Luka's a whole different caliber than Anthony Davis, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, okay, we get into the playoffs, and what are we talking about here, you know? Davis has been in a title. Luka's been in a title. Luka had reasons in his matchups, and Davis had his reasons in his scenarios and his matchups. But, you know, like I was saying, making the case, I think it's close, and I think that, yeah, maybe it's going to be difficult for the Mavs fans to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But if Davis comes back and he plays and he's healthy and he's great, then, you're going to be very, very happy with the center that you have. And if Kyrie's awesome as well, too, like he's been this season, then, there's a ton of optimism going on for this. But, especially for the league as well, too, like that's the next most interesting part for this, for what's going to happen. Like I would say maybe that's even the most interesting. But no, just because I like Davis so much, I think I would go, is Davis going to just continue to keep the Mavs as title contenders? That would be one. Is Luka going to emerge as what is his face of the league candidacy now look like in LA? What kind of boost does that give him? And then number 3, like we were saying earlier, is there a door open now for LeBron James to potentially end his career somewhere else? But I just don't, outside of the Knicks and the Spurs, I just don't quite see where that would be at, chat. But put some respect on Anthony Davis's name. That's all I wanted to say. That's in short, chat, just to sum it all up, put some respect on Anthony Davis's name. So we still will go through the Grammy categories, and there's going to be an award show tonight. There's going to be legacies, and there's going to be picks to be made and things to happen. So we'll go through the whole, field that we care about here and see what's going on for tonight's Grammy selection. But we will take a quick break and get to the award show, get to what was supposed to be the main event for today, right after this. Okay, Chad. Thank goodness the Pro Bowl ended. We can finally get to this Celtics Sixers game. Shout out to Jared Goff winning offensive MVP for the Pro Bowl. I don't know how many Pro Bowl MVPs they give out. They give out even more Pro Bowl MVPs than it feels like they give out Pro Bowl selections sometimes. But a small consolation for Lions fans to see their quarterback be the Pro Bowl MVP, chat. Yikes, he's not even supposed to be in the Pro Bowl. He's supposed to be taking the week off, trying to prepare for the Super Bowl. But instead, it's Philly, it's Kansas City, it's a storyline that, we've already seen before. It's a repeat. And unfortunately for Lions fans, they're just in the position, again, pause, for waiting till next season. And the Lions fans haven't been a franchise that has been a team that has had optimism in the offseason, going into the next season. So maybe there's some advantage to that. But then again, they did have that last year, and this year was supposed to be the year where they finally broke through. So maybe not the most thrilling for Lions fans. But like I said, speaking of winning, speaking of championships, speaking of awards, the Grammys are taking place right now. I don't know when they're actually in the theater handing out awards, but the award show starts in a couple hours here. So, I'm thinking we're going to do preview. We're going to talk picks. We're going to project and talk about what's happening. But winners are already pouring in. Again, the broadcast is later tonight, but we can look up and see who is already taking home some of the hardware. So, spoiler alert, I guess, chat, if you guys want to watch the broadcast live and see the reveals. And I guess there's a part of me that, see, I like the idea of it. The idea of sitting down, watching the Grammys, or, even going to, going into a place and be like, you want to throw out the Grammys on the TV? Can we get read the closed captioning for the Grammy broadcast? I guess, watching some of the singing performances is probably not the worst way to spend a Sunday night with some of the performers that are up there. But, the idea of sitting down and getting the shock value of reading the name and the sudden reveal of who's going to win the trophy. It seems like a nice idea, but it's just, these award shows are so long and paused and bloated and just too complicated to try to sit down the entire night and follow. So I guess for the sake of efficiency, we'll just look it up now. I know I'm not going to sit down and watch this thing. I may turn on the monologue. I may see what's going on with some of the stuff just to check out the show, but I don't need to see it to get the reveals of what's going on. There's got to be, what are we going to get, a nightcap stream tonight, chat? I mean, there's going to be other stuff to be watching. I don't know. Is Simmons and Russillo going to be back on live after reacting to Davis trade, or they just get a night off now? Who knows, chat? But do we dare log in and see who's going to win? See what's already been pouring in? Let's do it, chat. Pause. I saw something opening up Instagram earlier, so I know a couple of the categories that have already happened. Oh, I thought we got a winner. Jaden Smith wears a castle headpiece at the Grammys. Oh, wow. Taking the Batman cowl to new extremes. He's got a full paper mache looking class project castle on his head. I mean, if it was a class project castle, if you made this in school, if you were like a toddler, I mean, it'd be sick. Be a great job. But and it's a headpiece. If you're gonna wear a castle as a headpiece, it's a sleek design. It's a good way to work it in. Sick kicks. I just don't quite know if it's the attire that I would go for. Is it just all red carpets updates? Grammy winners have already been named. Let's see, chat. Winners list. This may be what we're looking for. Producer of the year? Wow. Was Antonov up for this award? He's been up for this award the last couple of years, and GNX would not have been in the mix for this year. Obviously, he worked on that, the one project that we're finally in on Jack Antonoff for. But just in general, if he got a win over what has been one of the more dominant runs in that category, that'd be impressive, chat. You'd love to see it. Oh, mic unplugged. Are we back, chat? Okay. I think we're in. Okay. Bet. Beat Mustard. Tough. Obviously, Mustard with the Not Like Us. But the album, unfortunately, didn't quite get the popular reception that I think he wanted. If you're going for a Grammy run. I liked it, though. I'm still bumping songs off of that. Shout out to Mustard. Mustard's always in our rotation. Let's see what... Is this the Olivia Rodrigo director? I'm scared to say this guy's last name, chat. It's a little close to getting us in trouble. So I don't know if we're going to toe the tightrope this time. But yeah, Olivia Rodrigo. Big run. Couple of 2024 Olivia Rodrigos. Was there like the Guts Deluxe? And I guess, is 2023 in the mix? Some of 2023 as well as 2024. It's like middle of 2023 to 2024. So when did Guts drop? September? Okay, so he's produced Guts and then also produced Good Luck Babe, which was one of the bigger songs of the year. I mean, yeah, you got to lock him down for that type of stuff. Because like we're saying, Guts versus Mustard's album, Guts probably is going to win the rating game on that one. But Not Like Us versus Good Luck Babe, shout out Mustard. He's definitely taking the win there. So that's crazy. Oh, geez. Updated terms, chat. You hate to see it. They're trying to compete with DeepSeek. Songwriter of the Year, Amy Allen. Best pop solo performance, Espresso. Have they given out Song of the Year yet? Obviously, Not Like Us is in contention. I think Espresso is the favorite at this point in looking to win. But what's the actual title for this? Oh, Best Pop Solo. You have to get the actual technical title right is the problem. But I don't even know what I would have known from the pop category this year. Oh, okay, so they put Bodyguard by Beyonce in here off of Cowboy Carter. They got Apple by Charlie XCX, Birds of a Feather. Oh, okay, of course. Yeah, I remember now that one was nominated by Billie Eilish. And then, like we were saying, Good Luck Babe by the producer, that one producer of the year with Chappelle Rowan. So in some ways, no surprise. I guess Flowers was a little surprising last year because there was some thought that maybe Billie Eilish would just win in both categories because there was Best Pop Solo and then Best, what's the other pop song category, chat? Is it up here? Best Female? Oh, no, that's the combined version of that one. Yeah, there's another pop song one. Oh, maybe she just won Song of the Year. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe there was Billie Eilish was going to win Song of the Year and Pop Song of the Year. I don't remember. But yeah, Flowers did end up stealing that one there. So that was a little surprising seeing win. That was a good tuned into the award show moment. Oh, okay, shout out Miley Cyrus. And she gave a pretty, memorable little speech, performance, whatever. So it was a right place, right time moment tuning in last year. But shout out to Espresso. Again, I guess spoiler alert, chat, for the people that are watching this pre-Grammys. If you guys are watching this after the Grammys, then, just take it as normal reactions. Pause. Best Dance Pop Recording, Von Dutch, Charlie XCX. Yep. Best Dance Electronic Album. You expect Brat to clean up in those categories. Best Remixed Recording, the Espresso Mark Ronson FNN Working Late Remix. Or FNZ? Not FNN, chat. FNZ Working Late Remix. Remixer Serena Carpenter. How many streams does this one have? Espresso Remix is... And I guess I don't even know what was up for Remix of the Year. But it's not like this remix was on the radio over Espresso, you know? It's just was Espresso this popular that its remix was just considered the best remix? Do we even get it as an option on here? Working late remixes. Here we go. 11 million? That's it? Yeah, I was like, I've never even heard of this remix. I've never seen like this in a play mix. It's never been like recommended as like, hey, you know, you like a little Bruno Mars, you might like Mark Ronson. Like, here's a kind of a way to check out Sabrina Carpenter. It's just like, no, not even the Sabrina Carpenter fans like this one, but the Grammys do. Is this another like, we need to look up the category for best remixed recording? What have even been the winners in this? Because sometimes, you know, if you just like add, if you like make a song like a posse cut, you know, if you just like add a couple of verses to a song, that's a remix, right? Have there been any of those like posse cut type songs that have gotten out on top? Let's see. Oh, okay. Yeah, we had Crazy in Love. Oh, Maurice's Soul remix? Maybe I've heard that one and I'm just not familiar. Curtis Mayfield Superfly Louis Vega EOL remix. Public Enemy Bring the Noise. Benny Benasai Suffiction remix. Okay, we need to check that one out. We've been bumping a lot of Public Enemy this year, so maybe the 2008 remixed Grammy winner will crack the rotation. Okay, David Guetta, Skrillex. Your typical DJs. Alex Caruso, Alex Crossan. Who is this guy? Trae Young, some NBA guys in here. Madonna, you love to see it. Lizzo. Depeche Mode. Depeche Mode won last year with Wagging Tongue. The Wet Lag remix. What is the Wet Lag remix? Okay, these are not songs that we're familiar with for the most part. Okay, a Shabuzi David Guetta remix. Yeah, I'm not sure if you fired that up, I would know which one the David Guetta remix version was. But K Tronada, Alter Ego K Tronada remix featuring, Dochi featuring JT. Oh, now see, sometimes the Grammys are good for recommending a song, chat. Dochi's in the mix. We might have to be giving that a listen. So shout out. We're moments away from Dochi locking in a win tonight, chat. It's looking like. Best rock performance, Now and Then by the Beatles. Best R&B performance, Made for Me. Okay. Was that going up against Saturn, chat? I know Saturn was just in the song category. But best performance, best vocal performance. Is it this one? No, this one got... Oh, here we go. Best R&B performance. Been remixed a little bit. Suspended and brought back, but... Yeah, beat out Saturn. Beat out Here We Go by Coco Jones. Beat out Residuals by Chris Brown. And Guidance by Janae Aiko, chat. Shout out. SZA losing 2 years in a row. I See You took down Kill Bill last year. I can't believe SZA with the Grammy disrespect, chat. You know, the Taylor Swift thing is one of those like, okay, you know, maybe if we don't, you know, for our preferences, you know, bumping SOS, then, you know, we're not against paying respect for the year that Taylor Swift had. Like, we get it. Like, you know, we're only going to be outraged from just a personal preference standpoint. But the disrespect year after year is getting a little egregious. But best traditional R&B performance, Lucky Day, shout out. Okay, best R&B song, there we go. SZA with a Grammy win, 2025. Shout out. Saturn, well deserving, a banger song. Obviously, you know, big solo off of her deluxe edition reissue album of SOS, Lana. So who knows if, you know, 30 for 30 will be in the mix. for the Grammys in 2026. Kendrick back again, cleaning up the songs. Best progressive R&B album. Oh, this is a good one, chat. This was a good category. Did we get a tie? It looks like we might have gotten a tie in this category. Wow. And this is actually So Glad to Know You by Avery Sunshine. I was actually looking at this earlier and I was like, man, I probably need to give this album a listen. I need to make sure we're, keeping up with the R&B category as well too. But that Why Lord by Anderson .Paak and No Knowledge is, or Knowledge, No Worries is the group. By Knowledge and Anderson .Paak is a really, really great album. And had just missed the cut for our all album team, our third team all albums from last year. Yeah, we did get a tie. I think we literally had that as like the 16 album, which is going to sound like we're haters, but it's a stacked list last year. And there was some individual singles where it was like, you got to reward some songs and some albums and some projects and some stuff. But to see that this album got nominated in the category, I was like, yes, let's get this album a win. This is great. Childish Gambino pulled up with his project. Kalani was awesome too. And this Duran Benar is a project that we'll have to listen to as well, to catch up on this category. But the fact that they tied is crazy. So shout out. Definitely justifying Avery Sunshine's talent here. Definitely making sure that we're going to be getting this one into the rotation soon, It'll be a top priority to make sure that we're listening to that as soon as possible. Best R&B album, Chris Brown. 11 wins. Wow. When I was looking at it earlier, I was thinking it would be between that and Usher's album, because Usher's album was pretty hot in the moment when it dropped. Obviously, I think the Super Bowl thing was maybe a little tough. I don't know if that was his highlight performance, but again, the quality of the project seemed like people were bumping it. Seemed like people like to have Chris Brown back, dropping albums that you could have discourse about like that in a real way. Did I say Chris Brown? Usher? With Usher back in the mix like that. But this Chris Brown project was heavy too. So the deluxe edition dropped in November. And, you figure Usher, he throws a peach on the cover. Anytime you put a peach in, a piece of media, chat, maybe he just needed to have a Timothée Chalamet feature. Usher, next year, you just 2 peaches on the cover and Timothée Chalamet just on an interlude with some monologue, or there's got to be some scene from Dune or the Bob Dylan movie that you can cut out with Timothée Chalamet just making quotes featuring Timothée Chalamet. And then, you're locking yourself in at that point for a best album win. There's no shot they're going to take it and give you the L. Victoria Monet obviously breaking through last year, getting the win. But I kind of liked last year's a little bit. It was a little bit more stuff that was actually in our rotation. But, some big names obviously this year. And, do we need to listen to Chris Brown and Usher more? Of course, chat. Who doesn't? But shout out to Layla Hathaway as well, too. Love to see it. Love to see the connection to the old good days of R&B, The days between Chris Brown and Donny Hathaway, the categories evolved a little bit, but still the same amount of sexy, right, chat? Donny Hathaway, you're playing Donny Hathaway and Chris Brown in the same playlist. Make no mistake. So hasn't evolved that much, but Chris Brown, a little bit of a better dancer maybe than Donny Hathaway. Though, maybe it's just Donny Hathaway. I'm not familiar with your game, Maybe we just have to give him respect. But shout out to Chris Brown. Best rap performance. Here we go, chat. Kendrick Lamar takes the first Grammy. There wasn't really a question. Did anybody perform a rap song better than Kendrick Lamar performed Not Like Us? According to the Grammys, no. Do we just rip through the rap categories here and then react to them all? We'll go back and look at them here. Best melodic rap. I think this category was a little bit more wide open. I don't think, obviously, Kendrick, I don't think had a diss track in the melodic rap performance. They didn't put like 616 in LA in best melodic rap. So we will see. I'm trying to remember exactly who was all in this mix. I think we had a Dochi. I think we had Jack Harlow in the mix. Did we have Rhapsody? Was Rhapsody in the mix, chat? She was nominated for best rap song, but best melodic rap performance. It was Rhapsody. Rhapsody and Erykah Badu, of course, chat. Erykah Badu, how are you not going to win on best melodic rap performance with an Erykah Badu feature? See, that's what I'm saying, Usher. You got to have that feature. What feature did Usher's have? I guess, you don't have to have the feature. You can go solo, of course. But did he have the feature in this project? Did he have Donny Hathaway? Okay, he had Summer Walker, Lotto, Her, Burna Boy, The Dream, Feliz. Some modern guys for sure, but not that like industry staple, been around. Oh, 21 Savage as well too. But this is like having, Andre 3K on a track. You're gonna get Andre, and you gotta also, Andre 3K is not just up for a feature. It's not like he's just on feature cameo waiting for an email from like any rapper to be like, hey, can I get that Andre 3K feature? Like, you gotta get the Andre 3K feature. Like, you gotta get the Erykah Badu feature. But that's, the melodic equivalent of it, where if you're bringing Andre on for the bars, it's almost guaranteeing you're gonna lock in that win. Like Erykah Badu, like, anytime she pulls up, she's probably going to deliver a Grammy-winning performance. And this song was definitely worthy. Best rap song, Not Like Us, Kendrick Lamar, of course. Best traditional pop vocal album. Okay, they didn't put best rap album in the mix here, so they haven't officially, I guess, given that out yet. I saw the odds were pretty favored toward one person, but it's still not official yet. But yeah, let's go through the songs here and just double check what was in that best melodic. Because like the Harlow song was such a massive hit that it's going to get the numbers nomination. There's always got to be a couple of numbers nominations as well as just the best songs. Spaghetti by Shabuzi. So Beyonce really appearing in a lot of the different categories. You see the versatility within the album, even though the album itself is, bound by this cohesive theme and cohesive sound. She's still able to have these dynamic performances from still like these different genres, some pop, some rap, some R&B, some all kinds of different stuff, chat. But We Still Don't Trust You. I like that they just gave this album some love, because obviously you're giving the projects maybe just in general love with nominating We Don't Trust You for Album of the Year. And you're not going to be able to nominate this one also. You can't nominate them both in like one spot. So that album just in general is a little more melodic, of course. And this song is the biggest song off that album. You get the Weeknd feature as well. Makes sense. I like that it's in the mix. And shout out to Lotto as well too, like we're saying, with Big Mama. But you got to give it to Rhapsody. And you got to give it to Erykah Badu. And again, album vibe sense, like I like that it went to an album that is sort of a melodic vibe. And melodic, like, I guess Harlow wasn't nominated in this. Lotto ended up getting nominated. I was thinking, it can trend a little more poppy sometimes. You look at last year's category, Sitting on Top of the World, Attention, Spin About You, and Low by SZA. Where you go low, okay, is a little more, mixing that R&B and hip-hop. All My Life, obviously. Smash, Success, Single. But you think, can it gear a little bit more poppy in sound? But It can also gear a little bit more R&B-ish, and that's definitely Rhapsody. It's such like a mellow, chill project, and it's if I'm thinking of like whatever vibe I want to listen to like a melodic rap in, like that's perfect for that Rhapsody album. So that and the Metro Booming album are the two best like melodic rap projects on there. So I like that either one of them were able to get the win, and Rhapsody's album as well too was the better project between the two of them. So makes sense that the better song and the better project would be recognized. But yeah, with best rapping performance for Kendrick, we know that he was going to clean up for the diss tracks. Just, the cultural impact alone, Chad, is enough to give him the win. But I think you gotta give some respect to Dochi for Nissan Altima. Because, again, like, the song that Not Like Us is, not that it's just a great, not the diss track part of it, but just, the impact that it had, regardless of, what some might think. The impact that the song had was too much and just too important of a song for it to not win in any of these categories. But I guess just to stick with Kendrick quickly, like that, is it sneaky? Is the energy on Like That sneaky, like a more better performance? Is it better bars on Like That? No. Because, Not Like Us is a whole song at the end of the day. But, the fact that it is a song, I guess it's just the fact that Kendrick is able to just, be more concise and just, he's just coming off the bench on that song and just check him in for a couple minutes, get a verse off and get his performance. Whereas, Not Like Us, he has hooks and he has choruses and parts where he's mixing up the cadence. And it's like, yeah, the parts where he is going for that rapping performances, it's, peak Kendrick. And just as a song as well, too, in general, like the replay value on Like That, you could make the case that it is a more replayable song than Not Like Us. Obviously not what we're talking about here, but just to bring it up, I don't know if that's a hot take or not, Shaq. I don't think it is. I don't really think it is. Again, Not Like Us is a fun song, and I don't think because it's a diss track, it's not like we're going to, it's going to go away in history. It's going to be, it's going to be able to survive. Even it's going to be able to have legs as a song, even though it's a diss track. But it is also like, I'm not going to listen to a diss track every day versus, a song where a guy is having a really aggressive, really like I'm the best rap performance. And then over the course of that verse has a bar in there where he takes a couple of shots at some guys. Like that's a performance that you can, that's a performance you can listen to all day. And I'm not saying you can't replay Not Like Us, obviously. I'm just saying, I replay it 6 times in the pop out. I would have listened to it a 7th, of course. But it is like, you're going to queue it up in the aux like all the time versus Not Like Us. You can, I'm just saying, or Like That. I'm just saying, like, I think you can make the case that Like That is and just the horns on Like That as well, too. Like that horn loop is crazy. Travis Scott, there's that clip of Travis like asking Metro to play that song early at one of his concerts. And like, you could just tell Travis like was so captivated by that horn loop and just thought that was such a great, that song was such a great song. That it was like, we have to hear that song now. It's like, you can definitely see why. Outside of the fact that, obviously the Kendrick verse is the reason why it's in best rap performance and not just best rap song. It's in a rapping performance category, but as a song, I'm just saying it goes toe to toe as a song with Not Like Us. The beat does anyways. I think the beat goes toe to toe and you get that Kendrick verse. Future, and maybe that would be the case for Not Like Us, again, if we had to make a case for it over Like That, would be the Kendrick parts on Like That, whatever, could go toe to toe with the Kendrick parts on Not Like Us. But you got Future, of course, on Like That. And as good as Future is, like, maybe Future's not going for it the way Kendrick is. Like, his verse and his flow is still catchy on this song. Like, I still like the Future verse. And I kind of like the fact that he's a little bit more mellow. It kind of sets the tone for, it makes that, the fact that Kendrick, when he comes in more aggressively, that just aggressive entrance on that verse, it makes that a little bit more effective because the contrast with that between Future's performance. But it's like the whole song Kendrick is going for it on Not Like Us, obviously. So yeah, of course, taking out the disses as well too, and just looking at the pure performance. Like, I guess there's a version of it where he was, like sleepwalking through the disses just in some alternate timeline, whatever crazy timeline this is. I guess I was re-listening again, shout out to Simmons, but I was re-listening to the Juice Rewatchable pod the other day, and they were telling a story in there about how in the scene in Juice where Tupac, there's like a falling scene, and he gives like this half effort type yell in this scene, and I'm just like, it's like, okay, obviously Tupac is still giving you the great movie, but it's like this scene, is it kind of like a half scene? It's like, yeah, is the Future thing kind of like a half thing, whatever. But yeah, Not Like Us is obviously gonna win. But again, going back to Nissan Altima, like the flow that Dochi catches on this track is obviously crazy. It's insane, chat, and I can't even get normal words out. Like I wouldn't even be able to rap this, but I can't even attempt to try to repeat it, chat. It is actually, I cue it up at least a couple of times a day and just go, oh, I guess today we haven't quite got it down yet, but one of these days. Oh, that's right. Shout out. I guess we're even helping Nike promote their new stuff with showcasing Genius with the band stuff. But this is crazy. I don't even know if I can. Am I gonna have to cue up the beat in the background to try to wrap this at the proper cadence, chat? Oh man, it's like scary to attempt. Like there are songs that the flow that a person catches is so much fun. Like you have to replay it just because you're having such a great time, and that is one of these songs. But it's so much fun that it crossed over to the next level where it's like it's scary. It's like this is a crazy song to try to. That initial part, first couple of bars are an insane flow. But Boogie, mean she freaky, cunnilingus, Dalai Lama, Dochi cooler than a fan, but she get hotter than a sauna. Take a trip out of Japan, I tsunami her vagina, wine and diner, Benny Hama. I'm the new hip hop Madonna. I'm the Grab Trace Jones. It's just like Dochi is going crazy on this song, chat. So again, like the full Not Like Us scope is too much to overcome for a song category. But if you're just going flow for flow, bar for bar, the Dochi one's close. Common, When the Sun Shines Again, that's, just Common. He's so poetic, I guess. you gotta lock him in one of these rapping song performances. Obviously, Glorilla as well, too, on Yeah Glow is, giving you crazy bars. But I just think the flow that Dochi catches on Nissan Altima is even crazier than Glorilla. Probably the craziest flow of any of these here. I'm trying to think. Eminem on Houdini. Like, he doesn't really. I haven't actually heard that song in a minute, Chad. Do we cue that one back up here? Because we always end up going back to Fuel, of course, which the JID feature is crazy. And Eminem has crazy bars on that track. I don't know if his cadence quite matches what you get with what JID gives you. JID obviously with one of the best flows in the game. I'm trying to remember this one. Oh yeah, this was fun when this dropped, chat. I'm not mad about Eminem being around in the Grammys. Death of Slim Shady was a good time. Why am I not remembering how this initial part starts off? Let's see. Yeah, Eminem's having fun. It's a kind of a boppy cadence for Eminem. Massive hit as well too. So outside of Not Like Us, maybe the most successful song, maybe more streamed than Like That. Should we look that up quick? Maybe Houdini was more streamed than No, it's not more streamed than Not Like Us, right? Not Like Us is definitely crushing this song. Houdini? Is this right? Houdini. 560, yeah. I think Like That is even way above that too. Like That's over 6, 7. We're not over 8 with Like That yet, are we? 660. Okay, so you know it's hanging in there with Like That. It's around, but with what Kendrick was able to perform, those songs are obviously gonna be superior. And then Cardi B back in the mix as well too. But I guess yeah, best rap song, which I think Houdini and Not Like Us were both rap song, but was Like That also rap song as well? Kendrick with 4 song nominations. I think that might actually sound right. Oh, not best song rap. Let's see. I don't know. English is actually our first language. I don't know why I typed it out like that. Oh, Kendrick holding the win with Not Like Us. Did he win a best rap song for All Right? Or I? He won it for I. And he did win it for All Right. Okay, so yeah. This is not his first win for song. Was this his first win for performance, though? Let's go back and look at his performance real quick. Has he actually won for, like, you were the best at dropping? Because obviously the song creation. Yeah, okay, he did win back for those as well, too. Oh, and for Humble and King's Dead, Kendrick. Unstoppable. The Heart Part 5. Okay, so yeah, it all kind of carries over into the same categories, which would totally make sense. Because, yeah, I guess the Heart Part 5 would have won the song as well, too. Shout out to scientists and engineers. Again, this is where we had the Rhapsody back with the Asteroids, with the Hit Boy production. You get Kanye with Carnival, of course, the success of that song as a hit. Yeah, Like That was nominated along with Yaglo as well. So to be honest, is the performance category a little bit better than the actual rap song category? Again, shout out to Carnival, but that one is bringing it down just a little bit. And maybe it's just the fact that we saw this. If we had looked at it the other way, would it be more redundant? But I guess 3 a.m. was in melodic, not in rap performance. And Asteroids is... You get Asteroids, Not Like Us, Like That, and Yaglo. It's a stat category. It's a stat category. But again, nothing on this is, I think just in terms of the case for it taking down Not Like Us, maybe it's even a little bit farther. Because, again, like, Carnival is on here because of its success. It's not really on here because it's a great... I mean, it's a great song for what it is. It's just a crazy song. But it's not a masterpiece song in a way. So if you're nominating it for popularity's sake, well, Not Like Us is the most popular song. Kind of same with Yaglo, and to be honest, same with Like That as well too. So it just basically be down to the vibes and the introspection. Do you want the more laid back vibes, the introspective vibes of Rhapsody, or do you want the popular, crazy cultural success? And again, the impact of it all. Like, Not Like Us is unassailable in that. Make no mistake, chat. But best traditional pop vocal album, Norah Jones? Okay. This is another category where it's like, so you just got to know the names. You just want to know the stars. I'm about as tuned out of the radio as I've been. Like, even as a teenager and stuff, it's like, if you're not listening to this stuff in your rotation, you're at least locked in with who's popular and what's being played. And maybe it's just the places you work as well, too. Some places have better radio stations than others. But best pop vocal albums, are we in the right category? Let's just double check. Yeah, I think we are. 2025? Why is Norah Jones not popping up, chat? Best traditional pop vocal album. Oh, best traditional pop vocal album? Okay. So maybe this is not quite the category that we're thinking it then. Because I was going to say, maybe that's why I was going to look it up. Because I was like, Nora Jones? Is this like the same category that like, you know. And again, shout out to Nora Jones. But yeah, I mean, Surreal Ami, Lake Street Drive, Alan Lazar, and Gregory Porter is just a little bit of a different field of competitors than Sabrina Carpenter, Billie Eilish, Ariana Grande, Chappelle Rowan, and Taylor Swift, which, again, in terms of star power, is a stacked category. I guess that's what pop means, popular. But, whew, that's crazy. That is a brutal stretch of competitors. Best country solo album, It Takes a Woman. Congratulations. That doesn't. Best country duo group performance, Two Most Wanted, Beyonce getting a Grammy win. Hopefully that doesn't mean the Grammys are like, hey, that album of the year nomination that album of the year nom that you went so bad, like, let's just get you a couple of these song nominations, a couple of these song wins, and maybe that's it. I don't know. But shout out. I don't know what else was in the country mix, but I mean, for our rotation, that's the only thing that we care about. So I guess they're trying to get our viewership with giving it the win. I mean, let's be honest, country is kind of trying to cross over into hip hop a little bit. So them giving Beyonce some wins, I think, is good branding. But is that going to be a controversial statement for the country people? I'm just saying, like, I'm hearing a lot. There's, some of the drum vibes and some of the like, you just, there's some crossover that you're like, okay, I'm hearing some sounds that are starting to merge together. We're getting into some performances here, people, that are for some different fan bases other than the Rem and Sam pod. Best American Roots performance, Best Americana performance. This one, shout out Sierra Farrell. We might actually be interested. Who knows? Best American Roots, Best Bluegrass, Best Traditional, Best Contemporary, Best Folk, Best Gospel. Praise the Lord. Amen. It's Sunday, chat. We got to worship. So, I mean, I guess the first thing we'll be throwing on when we get out of this is That's My King, Grammy winner for Best Contemporary Christian Music Performance Song and Best Gospel Album. More than this, CeCe Winans. Shout out CeCe Winans. And One Hallelujah as well, too. Best Gospel Performance Song. Best Contemporary Christian Music Album, Heart of a Human by Doe. Best Roots Gospel Album. Wow, so they really do give us Christians our good due, chat. They really give the old body of Christ the old well-respect with some good categories, They give the saints they give them their awards. Best Gospel, Best Contemporary, and Best Roots. So that's like, it's like one for the choir, one for the kids, and one for the country. They really have all the levels of the church figured out, chat, in this Grammys award. Who said the Grammys hated the church? Look at this. We got 7 different categories here. That's like, I mean, they should just give us one song and one album category and call it a day. But Best Musicana Urbana Album, here we go. This is something that we might be interested in. Best Latin Rock or Alternative Album. Best Tropical Latin Album. Best Comedy Album, Dave Chappelle with The Dreamer. Okay. Let's see what else got nominated in this. Did he take down, was Beautiful Dogs up this year? Dave Chappelle over Shane Gillis? Riots in the Street, chat? That's kind of a high-powered showdown of Beautiful Dogs not nominated. Would that have been last year? Are the Grammys stupid? The Dreamer, The Prisoner by Gaffigan, Ricky Gervais, Armageddon, Nikki Glaser, Someday You'll Die, and Trevor Noah, Where Was I? Oh, this is a strong group. We're watching all these specials and we're having a good time. And I mean, they didn't nominate Ari Shaffir for his special a couple years ago. They've had some misses. But did Chappelle winning, you're not going to go wrong with that. Dreamer is going to be a funny watch. just like the rest of them. I mean, when you win with What's in a Name, which I think was like some kind of commencement speech, it's like you're probably going to just win every year. That's the one where it's like, I get it's, it's still Dave Chappelle like prepping a thing, right? Like he's still prepping a set in a way. So is the setting, how does that affect the ability to give out the award? But I'm just saying, like, if you need to, if it's like, Jokic, if it's the Jokic Embiid thing where this is the season where Embiid's going to win the MVP, like this would have been that Jokic season for Chappelle, which would have been like this performance that literally just has no Wikipedia page, but it somehow, still, I guess, we're not saying somehow, like, shout out Dave Chappelle. We're just saying that Selective Outrage was, a great watch. But no surprise there. Best music video, Not Like Us? Okay, that's got to be Over a Field, right? And is that a big award for the song projections? Because unfortunately, like I said, chat, we're not watching this full Grammys award show, and I think the Grammys award show, we're still even a little bit away from that actually firing up. But yeah, so this was, and I guess they did give hip hop some love here in this category. I didn't even realize that. Maybe that just shows you sort of hip hop's presence of keeping music videos alive, chat. But ASAP Rocky with Taylor Swift, Eminem with Houdini. I guess you got, Post Malone. I guess he's in a country phase right now, but him with Fortnite, Taylor Swift, Charlie XCX with 360, and then of course Kendrick Lamar winning with Not Like Us. So I think Kendrick is battling again like Sabrina Carpenter right now for Song of the Year, but Charlie is also a big like, maybe this is the year where she just walks into the Grammys and kind of takes every category that she's in. So the fact that she's not just sweeping the field maybe means that Kendrick is on the table for winning Song of the Year, chat. Maybe it's still a possibility. This is going to be the weirdest. Okay, well, not going to crisscross and then be working the computer from under the leg, chat. We'll be professional. Best music film, American Symphony. Is that what The Weeknd's going to be up for with Hurry Up Tomorrow when that Thriller drops? Who knows? Best recording package, best boxed or limited edition package, Mind Games. What is this, like best box set? Like John Lennon sold the coolest hoodies with his vinyls for the Mind Games collection? Who knows, chat? Best album notes, Centennial. Best album notes writer. You have to turn in your production notes for your albums. Best historical albums, Centennial. The album notes on Centennial were so elite and so dynamic that it turned it into a historical winning album. Wow. Makes sense. I mean, would there be only... That would make sense. There would be no other competition, right? What other album would have the best album notes? Well, the one that turned it into the best historical album. That feels like a double category. Okay, is that all we have as of right now? I think it is, chat. So we've got a lot of the major song performances out of the way for the rap category. And it does look like we have the R&B album categories out of the way as well, too. So they're trying to keep us entertained with some of the heavy hitter categories. Early on, anyways. But best rap album, quickly taking a look at that before we take off tonight, chat. Again, shout out to the NBA world for just the craziness. You never know what's going to happen, chat. You never know what news you will be hearing when you turn on and follow the NBA. But best rap album, chat, 2025. Going through the list. And let me see if I can actually pull up the percentage odds again that we found. I guess the internet's not fully down. Maybe we'll get some spoiler alerts, too, on who's going to win. Let's see. Okay, we do have stuff from a day ago. I guess we should have been hot on the markets yesterday. But I like the odds like throughout the year as well, too. Like, I want to know what's in contention. Record of the year? Yes, the Espresso, minus 370. Kendrick Lamar, it is second, so it's not like, over the field, it's basically got just that one last song to clear. So I guess 360, they were not thinking that was going to win Song of the Year. Does this have Best Rap Album on it? Of course it does not, Chad. What was that website I thought I saw it on? Polymarket. And I'm sure that world's largest prediction market. Okay, so is this... Oh, this is going to be like some crypto stuff, chat. Oh, okay. So if you want to just stick to normal betting, go over to BETSTAMP. They can just combine all the odds into one app. I mean, because make no mistake, chat, we all know that everybody is signed up for the Elon tweets and global elections right next to each other. What is going on? But nobody's just signed up to one sportsbook. Nobody's has that much discipline to just see what is going on in one app. So with BetStamp, you can combine all your apps into one, and then it'll compare the odds across those apps. So like, for example, Grammy Song of the Year. Maybe on one book, Birds of the Feather is the favorite at -110. Maybe, on one book, another song is the favorite, and you just go, oh, okay, I like these odds for this song better. But maybe, album of the year, what's best rap song, like we were saying with Kendrick Lamar, like that was kind of a lock. We all knew that was going to win. So how do you make money from a album or a bet that is going to win, and you're just, the odds are not going to be that great on it? It's like minus, like Song of the Year is -370. Kendrick is probably the odds on that one were probably honestly too large for it to try to win any value. But you would be able to look at that bet across the various sportsbook on BetStamp. So it would go, here's your bet on FanDuel, here's your bet on DraftKings, here's the odds for that bet on Caesar, here's the odds for that bet on MGM. Whatever app you want to put in there and connect it to, it'll say, here's the odds for that bet across all these various apps. And then you can pick which one gives you the best odds. It's like we're saying, some would give you this at -110, some might give you at -105, which maybe seems like a little bit of a difference, but that's how you make your money, chat. Those little bit of a differences, the overtime, the accumulation. You don't make your money with the one hit, the parlay, the win everything all at once. You got to get your small advantages over time. And BetStamp, the biggest small advantage in the game, chat. That's a pause, but they can steal that slogan if they want. Let's see. Best rap album. Yes, chat. This is what I was looking at earlier. And the odds have shifted even more in the favor of Dochi as we get closer. So, Common with the auditorium, shout out. He doesn't even have odds here to win. I don't think anybody thought he was going to win. But getting the nom is great to solidify, the quality of that project. The community really loved that project. And Common as well, too. I think he has like 5 Grammy noms in his career now. So I don't know what the name for this category of rapper would be, but there's like the category of rapper that, and it's not just really good at being produced, because even like a guy like Eminem, like Dr. Dre, being behind all these great, like 50 Cent is still able to work with a guy like Dr. Dre, and Dr. Dre is able to develop these various sounds for these various guys, but those guys are still able to be like the star power presence of an album in a way where, not that Common's able to do that, but there is a value of him next to a producer as well, where you're like Common and Pete Rock, that when Common is just kind of able to handle the lyrical side of things, that maybe just from the album experience, that you're going to get a certain level of quality there. Because especially, again, when you're working with these certain level of producers like Pete Rock, I mean, come on, you're going to get sonically a great experience. So, like, Freddie Gibbs is like this. And the thing is, like, Freddie Gibbs, like, Kanye's solo catalog is pretty good, too. Like, or not Kanye. Like, Common has some Kanye executive produced albums in there. But like his collab albums, like this is technically a Common Pete Rock collab album. But like even still, it's like Common working with Kanye, it's Common working with these other guys. Like we're saying, some of these guys are able to kind of lead the creative vision of a project and be the main focus of it. Where there's just that certain tier of guy where it's not a disrespect of tier. It's sort of like a Klay Thompson-esque type sidekick level where we never really got to see what Klay Thompson would be as a number one, but it's like Klay Thompson as a number two is as valuable as any. Like, yeah, you could put any star player in the league as your number two best player, but at the end of the day, like Klay Thompson, like we saw them go back and forth with, Russell Westbrook and Durant in OKC. Like, Russell Westbrook can win the MVP of the league. Russell Westbrook can individually on a player ranking and in a legacy ranking be a better player. But if you have Durant and Westbrook's your second best player and you have Steph and Klay's your second best player, like you're kind of feeling as good about your chances as the team with Steph or with Klay as your second best player. And it's like, yeah, maybe Common is not, Common's not like the solo guy like Future, like from a star power type standpoint. I don't think even like at the peak of Common's powers, he was, like I was gonna look that up quick, but like I don't think like his best selling album would compare to Future's best selling album. Maybe I'm wrong about that, Chad. I could be wrong. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at some of the. Let's look at the opening number for B, which would have been, of course, his best album. But was that album doing like in middle 2000s? Oh, come on. It's not going to give us the Common album? Was he doing 50? Was he doing 100? Was he doing 75K? Pause. Oh, he doesn't even have a critic. Oh, it debuted at number 2, 185. Oh, okay, so Common did have more commercial sway than I thought. In the moment, back in the mid aughts, didn't have the legs to carry on. Hit that platinum status or whatever. But who cares? We know the album's a classic. It doesn't matter. But yeah, when he's linked up with that guy, and okay, the production's gonna be handled by a certain type of guy, and Common can get the lyrics, you get a project like this. Wait, did it just like randomly spike to 17%? What just happened, chat? Somebody thought they read it on the note, like somebody walked past the table with it. But J. Cole might delete later, 1%. I'm a little shocked that Death of Slim Shady is that much more of an advantage over J. Cole, but I guess if they're going to nominate it, then obviously, they think a certain level highly of it. And maybe it's the Eminem factor. And I know it's going to be weird, like looking at J. Cole's discography and being like, wait a second, why is like his worst album maybe nominated for best album? Like, why is this the best chance he has of winning best album with Might Delete Later? But again, you look at the field, and I went back and looked at my album ranking earlier today, and I was trying to refresh, from that album team that we did as well too, to end the year. And there are albums like you can make the case again from a quality standpoint over Might Delete Later. Like you can start picking nits on what you prefer. And these are the albums, again, like I had these albums behind Pause, Might Delete Later in the ranking. So not albums that I would make the case for. I'm just saying that, albums that I could see the case being made for. But it's still like guys like, you've got some underground guys like JPEG Mafia and Mock Hominy and Mavi as well too, with Shadowbox, like really crazy quality projects that are all awesome, and all guys that, again, just from like a album ranking standpoint, I'm sure all these albums were in various people's top 5 different iterations of top 5 rankings for best albums of the year. But just the status that J. Cole has, look at that, the Auditorium again, jumping up to 24%. Apparently there's just like a random sneaky chance that Common steals a win here. It's the number 2 odds now. I guess we're just randomly going to be on Polymarket for the rest of the night tracking this until it goes down. But with Common and with J. Cole, like the status that those guys have had, and I guess even with Eminem as well too, like the quality of the album from the next, like, because those guys, I think, like we were saying with the underground guys, like would have the better quality with Mac Hominy and JPEG and Mavi. But some of the bigger albums like Big X The Plug and Hardstone Psycho and 21 Savage, like I don't know if you can fully make the case as well too that those albums are better than an album like Might Delete Later or even an album like Death of Slim Shady. So actually, like going back and looking at the list today, like I kind of reminded myself of being not too mad about why those albums got picked and why those albums were in the mix for best album. It's those guys have status and those albums still have quality, and the rest of the generation is still behind them. Pause. Like, you know, Tyler's album wasn't in the mix for this cycle. Kendrick's album was dropped outside of the window as well too. So it's like the other projects that you would say that clearly would be in from like a 2024 year-end standpoint just weren't in the mix for this Grammy opportunity. So, you know, you move to We Don't Trust You as well, which of course was the, you know, the moment album and the one album project tied to the beef that could be even considered, you know, nominated. I guess, of course, outside the other Future project that he dropped as well. But this one, with it actually having the Kendrick song on it, of course, gets that boost. And I have actually started to warm up to the idea of this one. And classic album status as well, too, is such a funny thing because, like, quality and classic status, it definitely combines, but there can be leeway with it at some point. And this album, in the moment, you know, you're listening to the Metro beats and you're like, you know, these are great beats. You're listening to the Future performances and you're like, these are, you know, really solid Future performances. But it does feel like a B+ version of what these guys could give you. But at the end of the day, you go back and listen, it's like, you know what, B+ Metro and B+ Future is like awesome music to listen to. And there is a conciseness with this project of it being less than an hour and the dark kind of trap vibe that you get from this. And maybe there is a little bit of inconsistency throughout the track list, but there are big songs outside of like that as well too, with, you know, just other massive hits and other massive features being on the list. So in terms of a full album re-listen project, like there is a re-listenability to this full project that I'm definitely warming up to. And again, it's not that you're not going back to the songs on this album and not replaying these singles and not necessarily messing around with them in playlists, but are you going back and revisiting this project and revisiting this thing the whole time? And, you know, on a consistent basis. And like, how does this stack up in that future catalog as well too? Like when you're going back to the Future catalog and you're like, what albums do I want to play in full? And am I going to get that consistent quality from start to finish? Like this really does have a case to be up there as one of those projects. Because again, just the baseline of what you're getting from a Metro production is going to be there. Like you do have low points on this album per se, but you don't have like bad moments on this album where maybe in some future moments you go, oh yeah, you have high points and, you know, low points sort of mixed in throughout his discography. But the fact that he even has a shot to get a win, and of course, you know, seeing the, like with the way the odds have been moving throughout the time we've even been talking here, like the one thing that has stayed consistent is Dochi is like at 70%. Like, you know, the odds are just like who's basically shifting for second place. Announcer jinx, chat, it immediately drops to 69. But I guess we could start making jokes, chat, but we want to keep our options open. So make no mistake, the minute we get a couple of more followers, Dochi will be getting a DM from the Rem and Sam pod. It's just what it is. But you know, the fact that Future actually has a chance to win a best album before J. Cole is also pretty crazy too. It's also pretty crazy for the legacy thing. You know, we could do the whole big 3, big 4 thing, which is actually a case that I do want to talk out at some point. And you know, this is a big piece of that if he were able to, you know, as the number 2 guy here, be able to get the win. But Dochi with the last chat. Speaking of chat, Sam is in the chat. Yeah, we did already talk a little bit, of course, about the trade as well, too. So if you guys are jumping in right when we're talking about the Grammys here at the end, I mean, we've been on here for a couple hours, so make no mistake. Even, we're nearing the end. If you guys want to go back and listen to us react to Anthony Davis, please do. If you guys want to, Sam's in the chat. If you want to hear Sam react to his Chiefs making the Super Bowl, that live stream's up there as well, too. He says it's not rigged. You guys can be the judge. He says that the Chiefs are insanely tough. He said Pat Mahomes is a great player and Andy Reid is a great coach, and the Chiefs GM is they have a great front office. Do you guys see a great team when you see the Chiefs? Do you see the league is rigged? I don't know what you see, but you see what would be worse for Nico Harrison, fumbling Steph Curry or Luka Doncic? Is he Sam talking about, of course, fumbling Steph Curry? I'm assuming you're talking about fumbling Steph Curry for the shoes like you were talking about earlier. Right? Would you rather lose Steph Curry as we don't trust you? Foley dropping off now. And the auditorium. Somebody's moving these markets for Common in just like these random bursts. I don't know what's going on. But would you rather lose Nike as a shoe athlete or Luka as a player athlete? You see, that's actually a really interesting question now that you put it in a would you rather situation like that, because you think about what both of those guys are to their respective markets. They're both dominant and they're both well established, but do they feel 90 do they feel like 99% necessary obviously Curry is necessary for Under Armour because of what Under Armour is, but that's kind of similar for Luka for Dallas. Like, is Luka a little more important for Dallas because how they had built it and because it was so functioned around him, and he's in that little hard nest thing where you got to put the spacers out there in a way and the defenders out there in a way, and now you're hoping that recipe works around a big like Anthony Davis and Kyrie, in that backcourt picking up the slack in some of that, and him picking up the slack as a primary creator anyways in that role. But you still look at some other guys and go, okay, he's still probably not the number one. Like I'm saying, even if going back to that list, you wouldn't make the case for all those guys. Like, you wouldn't make the case for SGA and Tatum and Wemby and Ant. And like, you wouldn't make the case for all those guys over Paolo. Like, maybe there's a world where, you're a couple of guys over. Maybe you'd have Wemby and you have SGA. Maybe you have Paolo and you have Tatum. Maybe you have your Ant and you have Wemby. Like, maybe it's a different combination. Like, there's still going to be a couple of shoe athletes out there that you could probably go, yeah, maybe a little. That's getting close, though, because of the numbers. Like, the Steph Curry thing has become pretty dominant. And the thing is, like, you have to also think about, and I guess this applies doubly again as well, too, like when he fumbled Steph Curry, because he did fumble Steph Curry kind of right when Steph Curry peaked. Like, the early Steph Curry, like Steph Curry now for Under Armour, it's cool, but it's an established brand. But the peak Currys, the Curry ones, chat, I'm a Spurs fan. I had a pair of Curry ones. I don't have jerseys or any other sports memorabilia from other teams because, like, you need shoes to play in. So it's like I have to get shoes from another player at some point in general. Like, you got to get the Currys, Kawhi didn't have his New Balance deal at that point, and it's not like Duncan had a shoe deal or, the Ginobili 4s. I don't know if he had like a Fila deal in there or something. But losing Steph right when Steph was peaking as that cultural figure, and now you're trading Luka at the peak of his powers. I mean, like, we made the defense for it, chat. We wanted to see it positively from the Mavericks side, but like we're saying, it's just, what I am saying is view it more positively. I'm not saying view it as a win for the Mavs. I'm just saying view it more positively than it's being viewed right now. That's all. But is it a fumble? Yeah, it's a fumble, You're losing a young talent. You're losing a guy that's entering his peak. It's, a tough thing to have happen for a fan base to see. But all I'm saying is Anthony Davis is a great player and could definitely give you many years of great basketball for sure. But speaking on the Dochi thing as well, too, like sort of the Luka of the hip hop game in a way, though, she's in her mixtape run as well, too. Luka is at least into his second contract at this point. I guess Dochi's kind of the Wembanyama, Maybe even the Cooper Flag. Like, let's be honest, Cooper Flag is a rookie. She's, again, like, is this is her winning the mixtape this year like the equivalent of Cooper Flagg's Team USA tape, where it's like, wait a second, Cooper Flag is like going toe to toe with Kevin Durant right now in a pickup game? Like, what's going on? You know, Doechii, wait a second, she's about to take down J. Cole and Future and Eminem and Common in the best album category. Like, what is about to happen? But especially, like, I mean, we had it as a top like 3 or 4 album of the year in general. So, you know, I guess if you just look at our rankings, the albums that were nominatable, eligible, I guess we did have Blue Lips over this album just in terms of our personal rankings for the albums that dropped in this cycle. But outside of that, we did have it ranked over everything. So, you know, it's a spoiler alert that we would pick this one to win, as well as we would, you know, even as much as we love J. Cole and we'd hope that J. Cole would get the win, it's like we still have to be respectful to history, and we still have to respect, you know, the bigger picture. Shout out to Elliott Wilson. But, you know, it's like Doechii does deserve, especially in this field, to be the winner here. Like, this is the most complete project. This is the, you know, like we were saying with that Nissan rapping Ultima performance, like the rapping peaks that she hits on this album are as good as Eminem on, and I know, you know, that's gonna be like, whoa, Eminem, you know, the double entendres. Like, didn't you hear him? How many essays? You know, he didn't leave out the P, did he? Like, Doechii doesn't have that bar, but it's like, I get it. Like, the writing that Eminem has, like, sure, you can give Eminem the writing, but again, the cadence, the bars, the flow, all, like, Doechii is going par for par with these guys in this category. The production on her album is insane. Again, like, you know, the peak J, like, those guys are just in different phases of their careers as well, too. So they're writing about different things. Common is, you know, they're writing, all these guys are sort of writing looking back. And, you know, Doechii's obviously writing looking forward. It's just a different dynamic. Maybe in a critical setting, there's something about the person in the twilight looking back. And, you know, just the farther down you go the timeline, like, the more touching it is. Pause to the any kind of academy and any kind of award show. It's like, you know, an old person portrayal in a movie is obviously going to be more touching than like a young person portrayal. Though, you know, you go the other way, maybe a kid performance, child actor, it can, you know, be equally on the heartstrings. But again, that veteran guy giving that great performance is always just going to be a little bit of a different dynamic. But Doechii here is, you know, every bit as good. And she's also giving you melodic R&B. You know, there's some melodic on here. There's some R&Bs. There's some, you know, she's giving you these rapping performances where she's like giving you serious bars, but the cadences are like built for the modern day and like TikTok and the internet. And like, that's the thing about Kendrick that's so special, is like, obviously Kendrick and, you know, any great from the time like Pac back in the day, like they're able to give you these, you know, not just socially conscious messages, but also these like introspective thoughts and just these personal, like, this is where I'm at in my life. This is what I'm dealing with. Just all of these relevant lyrics, but the cadences are fun. The production choices are great. Just all of the ability to build around the message that you're talking about is on point. And that is what Doechii is doing here in Alligator Bites Never Heal. Like, she has an idea and she executes it to the highest idea, and just start to finish. Like, the through line of this album is so concise, and it's just, everything is attached perfectly, and the sonic sort of landscape and just and it's not really a landscape. Like, you think landscape of like what The Weeknd gave you with like these massive soundscapes throughout the album, but just, you know, the way the tone is able to shift throughout the album. And again, like, you go through the middle part of this album, like, she is really rapping on this album. Like, I've been kind of cute. Like, you know, you get the 3 or 4 songs that you really like, and I've just been kind of stuck on those songs in the rotation lately, but I went back to the full album, and it is crazy. And Boom Bap, I think, is my number 1 song off the album. Like, that's a crazy rapping performance in general. So that alone can remind you how great this album is. But just, I forgot how many songs you're like, man, these are just bar after bar. Like, she is really crushing on this album. Like, this is crazy. This is deserving. And, you know, I was trying to think too as well of like what debut albums they had given the winner to. Because Chance won it with his mixtape. Obviously, his debut album itself. Unfortunately, you know, we know the history of the big day. But Coloring Book, I guess Coloring Book wasn't his debut mixtape either, was it? It was his, it was a mixtape, and it was the first mixtape to win, but Acid Rap was his first mixtape. Yeah, it was his third mixtape. Versus Alligator Bites is literally her first mixtape, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, no, it is her third mixtape. Okay, okay. So I know she had a couple of projects in there, but I didn't know if those were technically EPs, whatever. But again, she hasn't even hit the album in yet, and she's already making waves. So I guess maybe if you wanted to compare it to like Tyler, because Tyler obviously had the early album run before Flower Boy, but I feel like you can kind of count that as like his mixtape run in a way. But I guess, Eminem won with his second album. Obviously, Slim Shady LP wins. Volume 2's his third album. Yeah, Jay-Z's third album. Me Against the World's Tupac's third album. Bone Thugs and Harmony. Okay, their second studio album. Oh, yeah, Old Dirty Bastard. This would have been his debut. So Old Dirty Bastard with the debut album. Gangster Paradise debut. Second studio. The groups. Do we count the groups in here? Oh, Missy Elliott with her debut. The Dochi Missy Elliott. I know we compared her. Dochi can just get compared to any great rapper ever. She's, the talent's definitely there. But that's a good one. Miseducation got nominated, of course, in the R&B category. But in the hip-hop world, of course, like we're saying. Oh, Harlem World from Mace as well. See, Mace is an interesting one because Mace retired early. So we didn't really get to see what the career would be. But Missy Elliott, has like 5. Missy Elliott's one of the, I guess we haven't made the list, but she's got to be one of the 10 best rappers of all time, if you put the career together. Like, Missy Elliott got nominated to start and actually became one of the all-time greats. And, you would go back pre-Grammys as well, too, and, like, Ready to Die would have gotten nominated, hopefully. Illmatic, hopefully, would have got nominated. Like, these other great debut albums. I think Reasonable Doubt did get, left off this year. But, what else we looking for here for... Country Grammar was not debut. Oh, Country Grammar was debut. So shout out to Nelly. And Nelly did have the commercial success. I know, he doesn't. And then there was X was his third. Yeah. Nelly doesn't get obviously like the critical acclaim of being like the best rapper ever. But the man moved some money. Oh, yeah. Get Rich Guy Trying. How could we forget? Of course. 50 Cent. So 50 Cent, Missy Elliott, and who were we saying? Nelly? T.I. was into the game before he started getting nominated a little bit. Obviously, his debut album itself was, not the most successful project. Flo Rida, second album. Lupe Fiasco, the second album. Did his debut get nominated? Yeah, it did. That's right. Food and Liquor. Yeah, his debut. So, Fiasco, Missy Elliott. We're just literally remembering the last two. 50 Cent, Nelly. I guess Kanye with his wins. Drake didn't get nominated in his debut. Ryan McLemore and Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, of course, they won in their debut. But I guess outside of the ones that maybe you would go look, like the obvious ones that you're like, yeah, obviously, Macklemore, a bit strange. And, like Old Dirty Bastard as well, too. Unfortunately, he passed early, so we didn't get to see what the career would have been. But for the most part, like, you look at the careers of the people that got nominated right off the bat, and it's like, where's the miss here, chat? Like, what? Like, okay, if Dochi becomes Nelly, like, it's like Nelly doesn't have the... He's not Kendrick. He's not Drake, J. Cole in the rapper conversation, but... Nelly's not trading his career with anybody, Nelly has one of the great album selling careers, one of the great sale movers that we have in the game back when he was in there. So I guess Schoolboy Q Oxymoron, or not Oxy, did he get nominated for Habits and Contradictions? I don't think he did. Nicki Minaj, Pink Friday. Nicki Minaj, Transcendent Talent, of course. Like, even Cardi B, she hasn't really dropped a second album since she won with Invasion of Privacy as well. So it's like the track record for this is not that, Like, what should we like? Is Dochi gonna like? It's not just like, oh, lock it in, Dochi, the next all-time great. I'm just saying, like, there is an obvious progression of talent in the quality that we've seen from these young stars that get nominated. And you get the second album, you get whatever. Like, sometimes, again, you can rise a certain level. Like, Jack Harlow was in the mainstream in a certain way and able to climb the steps to get into this list and become a industry pedigree guy. But to be able to just like get recognized right away as, yeah, oh, special talent, like, this is like Mahomes level stuff, to bring it all full circle. Sam's in the chat. The Super Bowl is next week. We haven't talked about it at all today, but this is that Mahomes first season, 5,000 yards, and you're like, oh, this, because we knew with Mahomes right away, like, he had it. He had the ability to be the best of all time. And I know that's an aggressive thing to say that we saw that right away, but it's like you see it right now with Wemby, where Wemby has, of course, the talent to be the best of all time. I don't know if even basketball is a tough thing as well, too. Like, you just watch Mahomes and go, that is the most insane thing that I've ever seen at the quarterback position. Like, you watch Dochi and you go, there's nothing that she can't do as an artist standpoint, and the songs are already full of messages and relevant topics and amazing production and amazing flow and amazing lyricism, and she just is able to take her music in all these different directions. And I think she's totally deserving of the win. Like, as that, just the more I was thinking about it, and to be honest, like, I don't want to say like right away, when they first announced the list, I thought it was going to be We Don't Trust You, and I thought Future, and of course the Kendrick impact was just going to carry throughout the entire Grammy process. But the more I was thinking about it, especially with Blue Lips not getting nominated as well too, which people would just look at and go, oh, the Grammys suck, they don't know what they're doing, like, how could they not nominate one of the best albums, which is absolutely true. Like, yeah, it's totally deserving to be in a top 5 mix, but there's also a lot of mouths to feed in the industry, and are you gonna double dip in the top dog bag? Like, I don't, as political as that sounds, like, it might be true, and I know, we don't know the labels for all this. Like, are there 2 Universal albums on here? It's, and what is Top Dog? What is that, an imprint? That's the bigger label for Top Dog? Because everything, of course, gets funneled up into the Universal. Okay, so Top Dog, yeah, is, wait, is it just independent right now? It is just independent right now. Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. So yeah, I honestly think that probably affected a Blue Lips a little bit. And especially after Dochi got nominated, like, you really saw the push just promoting that album and getting her out there and really branding her and developing her as, I don't want to say I'm saying a character respectively, like, just her brand and her, just the vibe and whatever, what she is putting out there as a person and as an artist, like, curating that and pushing that ever since the nomination has just been absolutely a great job by Top Dog. And as much, it's really been a combination of both things. It's like the quality of the album has held, like, they've been able to showcase a quality album, but they've done a great job showcasing it. It's both things. The showcase has been great, and the album they're showcasing is awesome. And just like I don't even think anybody else has like done work to promote the album. So there is that, it's like, J. Cole, is he doing work to push Might Delete Later as a project, like, as Future out there doing the Grammy grind to make sure that his album is in the mix. Like, Dochi's putting in work. She's doing the talk shows. She's doing the performances. Like, she's making sure to, but again, that's all part of it. Like, it's great. And then when people visit the album, they're finding a quality project. They're not faking it. They're not faking it with press. They're just simply making sure and spreading the word is all. But I think the other people kind of know as well too. Like, I honestly, from a start to finish consistency standpoint, like, as much as we were looking at the odds earlier, like, Common maybe does have the best actual case in this, with just the lyrical ability start to finish as well. But I would honestly rank this Dochi, We Don't Trust You, Common. I guess we'd have to put Eminem over J. Cole, just because the market's showing that Eminem would be a bigger industry play than J. Cole. And I mean, obviously, Eminem has like 17,000 Grammy wins, so that alone would make you see that. But yeah, the new era for Dochi starting, for her taking the mantle as kind of this next generation person. Off the XXL freshman list as well too. Kind of the first. I know we looked at that earlier with Central C, but let's pull that back up real quick and see what we can look at for the Grammy portion of this list. Again, there's the commercial success. These guys will go on tour. Guys will drop hits. Guys will drop albums. There's different ways for these people to evolve their careers and to be mainstays. But, Big X the Plug is doing his thing right now. In the culture and on the playlists and just in people's rotations. Like, is Big X the Plug more popular than Dochi? Probably. Actually, if we looked at streaming, that might not be true. I guess it just depends on who you ask as well. And just what circles you're running in. But, let's see. Glorilla was on here, which... Yeah, okay, she was on 2022. And then they took a little time to, of course, develop the debut mixtape, and they're still even working on the debut album, which I think we hopefully get in 2025. But again, you got Big X the Plug in the mix. Like we said, Central C is making waves. Boss Mandilo, gotta love Boss Mandilo. Shout out. Nardo Wick, 42 Doug, Flo Millie, Coil Ray was getting Grammy noms. Blast, Tusi, Polo G, NLE Choppa, Jack Harlow. I guess if we want to go 2020 to now, just this current generation. Because that would put Corday, Megan Thee Stallion, DaBaby. Yeah, they're all kind of next generation guys. Corday's 3 albums in. I think Don Toliver turned down the 2021 maybe, or maybe the 2019 one. Is Jack Harlow in his 30s yet? 26. No, okay, so Jack Harlow is in this generation for sure. Don Toliver's 30, so it's kind of like wash, chat. If he's in the NBA, we're trading him. If he was in the NBA, we would have traded him 5 years ago if he's on the Mavericks. But got him, chat. Got him. But he is a little like kind of borderline in that nextest generation. But yeah, for this young tier, the up and comers, because like we said, Tatum and Shea and Luka, those guys have moved now to like, those are the guys at the peak of their powers in the league. And guys like Jid, the 2018 class, guys like 21 Savage, Denzel Curry, 2016, those guys, Trippie Redd now with the MGK collab album really moving into the peak of his powers. Those guys, you're like, okay, these are the peak years. This is when we're getting the popularity combined with the hits and all that stuff. And it's just, things are really cooking for these guys. Assuming Jid drops an album. But maybe we get the Jid Metro album this year as well too. But in this next generation, I guess Harlow would be on his 3rd, or he'd be on his 4th album next, right? So yeah, obviously a younger, but putting in the work early on. Yeah, because Jackman was the 3rd album. Pause. Hey, yo. Jackman's wild. Jackman is crazy. The Mexican OT as well. Gotta show love to the MOT. But Dochi is, rotation-wise, power ranking-wise, Instagram algorithm-wise, she's just number 1 in the next generation, chat. It's just what it is. She's just taking the mantle right now and running away with it. So I guess we'll actually see what happens a little bit later tonight. Should we see Beyonce real quick? Is she going to get an Album of the Year win? Can it finally happen? She's 2nd right now, chat. That's a tough one. Billie Eilish over Beyonce? Not that you can't make the case that the Billie Eilish album is better. Like, it is a little more concise, so there is that. I guess, concise. Does concise imply always positive? Like, it is shorter, so there is that. Like, I think the Cowboy Carter album, there's there's some interludes and there's some stuff to kind of add to the experience, but I think it's all can be necessary to giving you that good album experience. Like, I don't know if Hit Me Hard and Soft is enough to me for, like, at least if you wanted to say between these two, like, Beyonce, I think, is doing something a little bit more new than what she's done versus, yeah, is Billie Eilish still evolving her sound for sure. But, Beyonce is like completely kind of shifted here and giving us a new thing where it's like, are we just kind of, it's like, that's kind of the Taylor Swift thing as well too, where it's like, are we just rewarding more of the same with Taylor Swift? I guess it is just voter fatigue, you know. But it's like Brat was this new thing. Chappelle Rowan is kind of this new sound, this new vibe, this new thing. Same way, you know, Sabrina Carpenter can kind of fall into the mainstream poppy kind of vibe. But I would have thought those three would have had a better case over Billie Eilish. Again, not just from a pure, like, Billie Eilish has great songs on it. It's a great album. And I probably would listen to the Billie Eilish album more than Charlie XCX and Chappelle Rowan as well, too. But for the uniqueness and for the experiences and for the cultural moments that those were, I would just put those in the mix this year a little bit over. And, of course, you know, shout out. We'd love to see Beyonce finally. I mean, they got to give it to Beyonce, chat. There's no way. She's actually finally got to win one. Not Like Us is looking at 25% right now. So there's still a hope for that as well. Best R&B song they haven't given out yet. They gave out all the other categories for R&B. But it looks like... Oh, no, yeah, SZA. Okay, 100%. Yeah, they did give that one out. For sure. Best new artist, Chappelle Rowan. Dochi? Behind Rowan and Sabrina Carpenter is kind of crazy. I don't know. Sabrina Carpenter's project over Dochi's project just as a cohesive body of work. Chappelle Rowan, like I said, I'm going personally back to the Dochi project more just because what I value. But I remember checking that Chappelle Rowan project out and enjoying it. Same with Charlie XCX as well, too. So... maybe we'll have to go back to that one for sure. Especially after, you know, she wins Best New Artist. We'll be going back to all this stuff. Tomorrow will be, I guess, outside of continuing to process the Luka trade, it will be Grammy vibes, listening to Grammy music. But shout out, chat. Like we said, what a crazy sports day. What a crazy sports day. Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis are swapping teams. You just never know what is going to happen in the NBA. You can never take a second, take a breath. Because right when you think the league's going to get boring and they've shut everything down and they've just completely nerfed the trade market with the new CBA, like, we get a move like this. We thought we're not going to get anything, and we got literally the most exciting move in NBA history. Which I guess is kind of the last piece that I wrote down and I forgot to mention. So maybe we'll end off right here, chat, which it does feel like kind of a checkpoint moment for the league in a way. And I was just thinking about this compared to some of the most shocking moments that I've experienced as an NBA fan. And the most iconic ones for me, just because I think of the age that I was at as well when the moments happen, like nothing will really top the LeBron decision. Just as like a young kid, where, you know, LeBron is on the move. Where is he going to go? The hype, the buildup. And I know the Doncic moment was more unexpected. Like, we knew LeBron it was the decision. Like, we knew he had a choice to make. But the fact that just the whole shock of it and just it was all such a crazy moment. Like, that's still like the number one crazy offseason trade player movement moment. And, you know, you do have the Durant moment in there as well, too. But that feels like kind of an extension of the LeBron moment. And the LeBron moment feels like the turning point moment, where the Durant moment's obviously a turning point moment for the on the court stuff that happens in the league, but the LeBron moment is the actual turning point moment for the off the court stuff, where then, you know, we open the path for the Durant thing to happen and the player empowerment thing like really takes off after LeBron makes that move and after he kind of sets that trend, trend, if that's not the right word, but after he sets that way of thinking in the mind of these NBA players. And then Durant is just the most extreme version of that at this time, where the league, you know, is getting this influx of money. But now with the second apron, like, you know, it's hard to say, like, are we going to see more versions of this trade? Like, that's not the right way to look at it. But how teams are scared of this second apron and how it's going to force teams to operate. Like, they said that money was, and, you know, it's not paying the player individually, but is not paying Doncic becomes scarier because of the second apron, you know? And now, because of the way the second apron has forced the hand on the trade market, these are the type of trades that I think the league was thinking about. Like, as much as we want to think that, you know, we're going to get this massive haul of picks for any guy that we deal in 6 contracts back or whatever, the league, I believe, wanted to gear it more toward, hey, if you want to trade a guy like Luka Doncic, or hey, Lakers, if you want to trade a guy like Anthony Davis, You just trade him for another great player, The contract, the easiest way to make these trades in the league is a 1-for-1. And I know there's like a 3-team version of this where they're, Hood Schifino's going to the Jazz and there's some picks and there's some contracts moving around. But this trade is essentially Davis for Luka. And the big difference, I guess, in people hating and loving this trade is one pick in 30-31 that the Mavs could have potentially gotten. But again, it's hard because of what Luka's stage is at in his career, and the fact that they're worried about these other off the court basketball things about his weight and all this stuff just makes it a little bit extra weird. But I wonder if just this as like a moment of, oh, this second apron is like a thing that these teams are actually really fearing in a real way, to the point where they're dramatically switching their teams in these ways. Like, just will that become sort of a thing? So maybe maybe it is a massive overhaul trade, but maybe there's a version of it where it's like, okay, this team was kind of on the edge, and instead of doing, Doncic for Davis, it's like, wait a second, one day we're waking up and, I don't know a team that's on the edge, but, Indiana on the other side, it's like, wait a second, why is Indiana trading Halliburton? I guess Indiana would be like another version of this, like, that was shocking, where when Halliburton got traded, it was like, wait a second, is Halliburton on the market? Like, Halliburton for Sabonis? How did that one happen? But, a mid-tier team like that, if Memphis just preemptively got up and traded Ja or something before they had to pay him. But, like, I don't know what other alternate versions of this are even possible. But just, again, the idea of teams working in fear of the second apron was just an idea that I had down. And, like, is this a checkpoint for that? For, like, this was the moment when we realized, oh, man, this is like a thing that is, these owners are actually, like, not messing around with the second apron outside of Matt Ishbia, who just does not care. But that'll do it for us tonight, chat. We will be back, of course, later this week again. I'm sure we'll just be reacting to more trade deadline stuff. There's more. I mean, this was just the trade that happened today. Like, I've been messing around in the trade machine even before this trade went down. So now we've got, I guess, just even a whole new way to even look at the trade machine. It's just like anything is possible now. I feel like we're going to have to just go back in and see if we can just uncover even more possibilities that we didn't even know were there. It seems like it still is happening, chat. We can still go in and cook up a new one every now and then and, like, okay, maybe the trade machine is possible, But boy, oh boy, is it possible if Nico Harrison is on your team. Am I telling you? Shout out. RIP the Luka Doncic run on Dallas. I'm sure there's more still to talk about, more to process with it. I mean, the fact that they traded for Luka in the draft and now they're trading away for him, it's just, there's a lot to process. We'll have days and time, and we had 3 hours to try to do it tonight, but we still need more time, so we'll try to go watch these games tonight and figure it out, chat. But shout out to Philly, just destroying Boston right now, 49-70. Even a bigger percentage chance they win this game than Dochi wins rap album at this point. But you can follow us, of course, over on TikTok, over on Instagram, over on the social media platforms. If you want to stick to the American platforms, you can find us there. We may also be dabbling in a couple of international platforms. You just never know, chat. But we're at Rem and Sam Pod, at Rem and Sam Podcast, at Rem and Sam. We're at that on those platforms, regardless of where it is at. And don't forget the pod feed as well. I know the YouTube is, of course, kind of the main hub, but if you need that different sort of the background listening experience, and again with Spotify with the video stuff, if you want to watch it with that background experience, it's just a different thing, and it's out there. It's available, of course, to be there if you guys need it. So we will be back, like I said, later this week. Dallas fans, take it easy. Lakers fans, have fun with your new star player. And the Spurs, we still have Wemby, so I don't really care what happens to the rest of the league because our guy is still the number one guy that you want to have. Trade Doncic for Davis, it doesn't matter. You'd still rather have Wemby. Trade Davis for Doncic, it doesn't matter. You still rather have Wemby. Wemby's the guy. So on that